Thank you. Announcements that I have are just upcoming meetings. Thursday, August 17th, Thursday, September 14th, and Thursday, September 28th, all at 7 p.m. are regular council meetings here in the Matthew Thornton Room. Paul?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Come join the Merrimack Parks and Recreation Department on Saturday, July 29th at Wasserman Park for the first free movie night of the summer. They will be showing the movie Top Gun Maverick and giving out free popcorn. The movie will begin at dusk. On August 1st, Tuesday, from 5:30 to 7 p.m. at Abbey Griffin Park, join the Merrimack PD and Parks and Recreation Department for National Night Out. National Night Out is an annual community building campaign that promotes police community partnership and neighborhood camaraderie to make our neighborhoods safer, more caring places to live. National Night Out enhances the relationship between neighbors and law enforcement while bringing back a true sense of community. Furthermore, it provides a great opportunity to bring police and neighbors together under positive circumstances. This is a free event. There'll be food, games, crafts, music, and much, much more. And finally, the Hazardous Waste Day is Saturday, August 5th from 8 to noon at 25 Crown Street in Nashua, New Hampshire. And one final note, I'd like to bring out Grace LeMay. Grace is the new media assistant that you'll be seeing taping our meetings. Grace comes with almost 4 years of experience from Hudson. So I wanted to welcome Grace. I wanted everybody to see Grace so they know that when she's in the back room telling you that your mics are not on, this is the person.
Welcome aboard, Grace. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to having this opportunity.
Excellent.
I'm thrilled to be working with Nick and Justin and most importantly, serving the community.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. It's wonderful.
Just, you need to learn how to use that filter, you know, that when you're taking close-ups. Look at least 20 years younger. That should be 10.
Yeah, right. Oh, you all set, Paul?
Thank you very much. That's all that I have.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, comments from the present public. If you would like to address the council, you could sit at the table here or go step to the mic. Seeing no one, we'll move on. Is it, it's normally what's on the agenda. In the end of the meeting, there's another opportunity to speak, but I'll be as quick as I can tonight then. All right. All right, very good. All right, under recognitions, resignations, and retirements, we have a recognition of a few folks this evening. As difficult as it is to get people to join, and we've been getting quite a few lately, we have some people departing. Are these the, Sharon's not back yet. All right. The people who have tendered their resignations are Mike Bover from Conservation, Cynthia Glenn from Conservation, Gina Rosati, Conservation, Paul McLaughlin Jr. from the Planning Board, and Mike Redding from the Town Center Committee, and Rod Buckley. And Rod, I think, is the only one here of those. So we had we had certificates for you for all these people, but they, I think, forgot that Lon Woods had departed the council and Mackenzie had come on board, and she recognized just moments ago that her name wasn't on the certificate. So we'll be coming back with that. But Rod, you've been wonderful, and we appreciate all the time that you have put in to the zoning board. It's been a number of years for sure, and sad you got to go, but we definitely appreciate all of you've done. Nancy.
I'd also like to take the opportunity, Rod, to really thank you for other things that you do for the community. There's a lot of things that you don't get credit for. Little odd things for the individuals in Merrimack, but also for the town. So I want to thank you for that too as well.
Mr.
Right, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to say the three folks from the Conservation Commission worked with those folks for a while on the Conservation Commission, and it's not just the amount of time that they donate for the Conservation Commission meetings, but I watch all the emails that they respond to and the questions they respond to about our conservation land. It is a ton of time that they donate to the town to make sure our conservation areas are run smoothly. So just seeing that firsthand, I'd like to say thanks to those folks as well.
Great. Thanks, Andy. Do you have one? We, Rod, don't go away because we have them coming around the horn here.
We now have to sign it. Corrected one.
I would like to say something about.
Yes. Please. Barbara.
So I would also like to point out Paul McLaughlin, who is retiring from the planning board, and he has done a great job. He has served on the planning board as the vice chair for at least the last couple of years that I've been on the board. So again, a thank you to him as well.
Absolutely. Rod, if you can join me over here, that'd be great. All right, it's presented to Rodney Buckley in recognition of your service as a member of the Zoning Board of Adjustment. In recognition of your dedication and commitment to public service during your appointment as a member of the Zoning Board of Adjustment, your service and devotion to the Zoning Board of Adjustment has had a valuable effect on this community. We wish to extend to you our sincere appreciation for your outstanding performance and duty, January 2018 to June 2023. We again, thanks so much. I appreciate it. All righty. This evening, there are no appointments or public hearings. Legislative updates from our legislative delegation. Nancy, did you have anything?
Sure, thank you. I actually had mentioned at a prior meeting that I would provide an update as to the end of the session. I'm going to speak for myself, but I just wanted to update the community about, some of the things that happened at the State House. This legislative session, I prime or co-sponsored 36 different pieces of legislation. 4 of them I was prime sponsor and 32 others along with other representatives. 2 of them were signed by the governor into law. One of them, HB 391, relative to a memorandum of understanding regarding data sharing between DHHS and DES, which is very important to our community because we want DES and DHHS to share data. Much of our concerns here is around environmental issues, and public health is certainly impacted by those. So that was one of the bills. The other was HB 501, and that made updates to a special education law. It was actually a bill that I had brought forward prior. It was by a community member who was concerned about special education law, that we were out of compliance with federal law, and that New Hampshire only required special ed services for eligible students up to age 21, when federal law required it to be up to age 22. So Representative Bill Boyd got that passed last term, and this one, HB 501, was updates to that so that we are in compliance with that federal law. A third bill, on the list of bills, it says that it was retained, although it was actually included in full in SB 2, which is the budget trailer bill. That bill came about based on concerns that many of us in the community have around health impacts from PFAS exposure. We've had long-term and ongoing exposure here, and one of the public health concerns that many of us have had for a long time is cancer, various cancers, and things like thyroid disorders and those kinds of things. So DHHS doesn't track a lot of those things. They don't have the staff, they don't have a system, they don't have the funding. But one of the things they were able to track is cancer. And kidney cancer is one of the cancers that is associated with PFAS exposure. And we've long believed that that was a concern here because we would hear from community members. And we've asked DHHS in the last couple of years to provide us the data. And the data is about, it's always 2 to 5 years old. So to get the actual numbers took a while. But as we expected, Merrimack kidney cancer cases are 42% higher than they're expected to be. And one of the things that we've asked is for I've asked repeatedly, is a full epidemiological study of our community. We said we have 28,000 people here who've been exposed for a long time. DHHS doesn't have the money, they don't have the staff, and they don't have the funding. But given what we've learned about the kidney cancer, one of the steps, and this is an incremental step, is to study that and to show we have a correlation, but we don't have a cause, so we can't make that link yet. So this HB 614 was a $500,000 appropriation for a phase 3 kidney cancer feasibility study, and that's the third step in this process. And to get to that, to get like approval for that, and for DHHS to say there's a need, there's a high bar. So we met that bar, unfortunately, and this $500,000 didn't pass as itself, but it was absorbed into the budget. Representative Maureen Mooney was on finance, and she was instrumental in helping shepherd that through there. We worked together on that, so that's a great thing. The money's in the budget, and that was signed by the governor. And the other bill that I had that I'm very disappointed about was HB 342. It was a pediatric lead testing bill. In 2018, the governor signed a bill that requires 1 and 2 year olds to be tested for lead levels. We know that lead damages children's brains, neurodevelopment, and other health impacts. We also know that down the road, we see it in ADHD. I think they say 1 in 5 children have ADHD related to high level lead levels, and it increases the special ed budget in communities. So DHHS had reached out to me and said, given the COVID, that the number of parents accessing testing was way down, like 50% down. And they were very concerned about the children, 0 to 6, because that's the target age. So I worked together with DHHS, and we passed this bill through the House. We passed it through the Senate. Although there's a group of legislators who seek to remove all testing. They don't want any blood testing. They vowed to go and say, well, yeah, maybe the law now, but we're writing a bill next time to make sure we don't test children anymore because it's their rights and whatever. Anyway, bill was fully supported by DHHS. It was fully supported by the lobbyists for the daycares. And all it would have required was, it didn't create a new testing requirement. It would have required that when parents or health providers complete the health forms for children for daycare or for public schools, that the lead level or the date of testing be included on that form. It didn't require the testing. That's already in law. It just documented, so that way the schools and the daycare centers knew that they didn't have to hand out, and that was the second part, handing out a information sheet about lead in children and how to access testing. It did not require that it had nothing to do with admitting a child to daycare or public schools. It didn't preclude them from being there if the parent refused, and it retained a parent's right to to determine that they don't want that testing for their child, which is already in law. Unfortunately, the governor vetoed it, which is very concerning. I mean, we know we've had lead in our public school and our pipes here. I know DHHS is pretty disappointed. And just, he said in his veto message that this bill was redundant, which it isn't. And it raised the threshold for children who enroll in New Hampshire public schools and is an unnecessary barrier to entry. And there's nothing about it that says that if your child doesn't have the testing or doesn't receive the information packet, that they can't go to school. It also said, and I think this really speaks more to the concern of those who would oppose it, this bill may also incentivize future legislatures to require additional blood testing requirements for New Hampshire's kids. And as I said, he had already signed that into law. That's already law. So that was disappointing. I'm hopeful that we can overturn that veto. I know DHHS is pretty concerned about that. It's a loss. It's unnecessary. It's too bad. But we did a lot of good work there. We're on a little bit of a break. We'll be back for veto day in September, and we have 8 representatives from here, and everybody worked pretty hard and addressed all manner of focus areas at the State House. So again, 3 years, I've had perfect attendance. I've never missed a vote. And it's my honor and privilege to serve Merrimack. So that's it.
Thanks, Nance. All right, and I see no other legislators here, so we appreciate the update. Town manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have one that I'll read now, and then I have 2 others that after we take votes, I'll read. They're on the agendas tonight, so I don't want to think my crystal ball what's going to happen.
Okay.
Improvements are being made to the recycling center, including the following. A new flyer is available at the transfer station and Public Works Administration office. This is the new flyer.
And this is the front.
It actually has a layout of where cars can go, where everything is located. Traffic patterns are changing slightly. All traffic is to stay on the outer perimeter of the transfer station, basically along the fence line. Items such as computers, tires, gas tanks are all going to be located down where the refrigerators and ACs were. Payments are still required, but we moved all those items that you pay for in one location, and that's really right over here where the ACs used to be. All metal shall be disposed on the top level where the metal bins, similar to what it's being done now. Please do not toss metal on the side of the bins. Please try to put everything in. If you have a heavy item that you cannot lift or put in yourself, we have attendants there that would be more than happy to help you with loaders and things of that sort. And all activities lanes is going to be relocated besides the trash building for safety issues. We're still working on a location for that, but it didn't make sense to have kids running in and out to try to get coins or for Boy Scouts or things of that sort, or having that lane. So we are moving people to a safer location where it'd be similar that the driver can actually give money or give a donation or talk to people on the driver's side of the car so they're not crossing in front of vehicles, and other people coming around know that if you go to the, for instance, if you drop off your leaves and you go on the right-hand side of that by the fence, that's still going to be the through lane, and then don't have to realize, is that the through lane or is that the activity lane this week? So we're trying to keep a constant there, but the new pamphlets are there. It's on our website for those who are web savvy. It's also in the town manager's office. So that's Dawn and her crew have done a great job, and they are trying to make it safer for everybody, including the workers up there. And that's why these changes are occurring. It's for safety purposes, not just to do what we think is best. We are doing that, but for the safety of our employees as well as the safety of people who visit the transfer station.
I'd just like to make a quick comment and compliment Dawn on this. One, it talks about the new dynamics of going through, but it's also very clear on how much things cost, the different kind of plastics, that kind of thing. It's a very informative pamphlet. So it can be acquired on the website, also at the transfer station, I'm assuming.
Correct.
Are there any hard copies at the
Town hall, yes.
town hall?
There are, as
So I
well.
really encourage the public to look at this, because a lot of times there are questions, and it really is a very well done pamphlet.
And the last thing is, I'll lead into our first item on no business. MS4
Yes.
is on the back.
Ah,
So we satisfied our MS4 requirement for the public,
for public
notice.
education.
for public education. So Dawn has used this as well to do some public education.
It's very well done.
Clear. Right. Good, Paul. Thank you. All right, yes, we'll catch up. There's nothing on the consent agenda, so as you just heard, the first item under old business is the councils to be presented with the municipal separate storm sewer system, 5-year update. And Dawn is here.
Dawn's here, but we are going to have Leo,
He's
our
gonna do the-
Deputy
very good.
Director for Public Works Environmental, Will, and Jared, our 2 interns this year, come up and do the presentation to the town council.
Excellent. Good to see you, Leo. Nice to meet you guys. Are they working you hard? Good.
Not how they work.
No, they work them hard. It's good, good. Actually, I saw you guys, I think I remember seeing you,
That's
they're checking for, oh no, they were checking for stickers in a monsoon season, and these guys were out doing all their work. And I said, could you pick a day that's heavier rain for crying out loud? But, so. That was a good day. Yeah.
And before you start, Leo, I just want to compliment you on the memo that you wrote. I know it's a very complex information procedure, the whole process. And you did a really nice job of encapsulating it with the different stages, so I just want to compliment you on that.
Yep.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for allowing us to present the 2023 Town of Merrimack Stormwater Management Program. In this presentation, we will define the MS4, describe the regulating authorities, present the Town of Merrimack's program, and will show the measures that keep us compliant. The Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System, also known as the MS4, is a permitted program regulated by the EPA. The MS4 requires permittees to develop a stormwater management program that controls the quality of water discharge to the United States. Through federal and state regulated MS4 permits, 4% of the U.S. land area and 80% of the population is covered by this stormwater permit. New Hampshire and Mass are regulated directly by the EPA. New Hampshire communities affected by the MS4 include 61 regulated cities and towns, plus 3 non-traditional communities. That includes the New Hampshire DOT, UNH, and the VA hospital. 17 of those towns have waivers because they don't have enough residents. Shown here are the communities in New Hampshire covered by the MS4 permit. They're broken up into 2 groups. The New Hampshire Lower Merrimack Valley Stormwater Coalition is the group in green, and the Seacoast Stormwater Coalition is the group in yellow. We're part of the New Hampshire Lower Merrimack Valley Stormwater Coalition. The coalition groups were established with New Hampshire DES to assist communities with forming their stormwater programs, as well as remaining in compliance with the permit. The MS4 team here in Merrimack includes the DPW administration, the highway department, community development, and building and health. Our own DPW director, Don Tomala, is the chairperson of the Lower Merrimack Valley Stormwater Coalition. Shown here in pink is the MS4 area in town. The areas outside of the MS4 are primarily open space and conservation land. As development occurs, the MS4 area will grow. So why is this important? Stormwater all across town sheds into our major water bodies, such as the Merrimack River, Babusick Lake, Lake Natticook, Horseshoe Pond, and many others. The rise in cyanobacteria, E. coli, and other water body impacts are a direct result of the pollutants that are washed into these water bodies. Some common toxic water impacts that have been closing beaches include algae blooms caused by phosphorus and other nutrients, and E. coli caused by animal waste and failing septic systems. Our stormwater program is a roadmap of activities to promote better water quality and stay in compliance with the permit, which can be changed and modified as needed. Our stormwater management plan can be found at the website shown here. Additionally, our permit requirements can be found by following this QR code. A critical step in our stormwater program is the creation and implementation of minimum control measures, and here to describe them is Will Feltus and Jared Pretzer.
Thank you, Leo. Thank you, Jared. As stated, we'll be covering some of the minimum control measures, or in fact, all of them, and there are 6. Each one represents a different sector of our MS4 permit. In the following slides, we'll go in more depth of each one. MCM1 represents our public education and outreach. Our goal here is to inform the public of any impacts to the environment that their actions may have. We target 4 audiences: residential, commercial businesses, industrial companies, and developers and construction workers. This flyer we hand out yearly with dog licenses, and in this past reporting year, we handed out 4,500 copies. Here is a flyer that we mailed out to our industrial companies in town to educate them on best management practices aimed towards reducing stormwater pollution. Here, as you just saw, is the flyer that we created for our composting, and we added in the transfer station pamphlet. MCM2 is our public involvement and participation measure. Our goal is to engage the community and of the implementation of the MS4. We give annual updates, like this one tonight, to include residents and give them a chance to ask any questions. By giving this update, we are actively completing a year 6 requirement. We also host other events throughout the year, or co-host, as stated earlier, Hazardous Waste Collection Day and Adopt a Road, Roadside Cleanup, which is aimed, and all these events are aimed towards reducing possible stormwater pollutants. MCM3 covers our illicit discharge detection and elimination program, also known as our IDDE. The IDDE is a roadmap of how we handle any illicit discharges that may arise. Within this reporting period, we'd also like to bring Code 167 before Town Council for review. As of now, Code 167 covers stormwater management standards, and we would like to update that code to include the IDDE plan. Doing so will also give the town legal authority to prohibit, investigate, and eliminate any illicit discharges. Along with our IDDE plan, there are many yearly tasks in the MCM3. To stay compliant with our permit, we sample outfalls, discharges of water around town. To monitor the water flowing, we do this to monitor the water flowing into our rivers, brooks, and lakes in town. If anything out of the normal range is found, an investigation will be started. Thank you, and now Jared will continue from here.
Good evening. Continuing on with MCM4, it's our construction site stormwater runoff control. The objective is to stop sediment from leaving construction sites by conducting on-site inspections of sedimentation barriers. The town will also be revising Code 167 to include erosion control standards and to identify sources of pollution and contamination on sites to prevent stormwater runoff into the drainage systems. MCM5 is our post-construction stormwater management for new and redeveloped areas. The purpose of MCM5 is to have little to no impact on water quality in surrounding areas around construction sites for new and redeveloped areas. Each development is tasked to create an operations and maintenance plan to manage runoff, pollutant source control, and conduct construction phase practices. All sites must hold post-construction meetings to report requirements at least annually, depending on the site's location. MCM 6 is our good housekeeping and pollution prevention. Conducted by the DPW Highway Department, housekeeping and pollution prevention is done for all parks, open spaces, town buildings, sports fields, and cemeteries. The goal is to maintain these town-owned facilities with consideration to not contaminate surrounding areas in the process. By conducting street sweeping and catch basin cleaning to the town is able to minimize sediment migration to local waterways. All DPW highway employees are Green Snow Pro trained to use the minimum amount of salt needed to keep roads safe and functioning in the winter months. Appendix F and H, requirements for discharges and impaired water bodies. These requirements allow the town to identify and report any excess nutrients that may be present in designated impaired water bodies. They also provide a list of ways to manage areas surrounding these water bodies in an effort to reduce nutrient loads. The town has completed the grant for Phase 1 on Babusick Lake and has applied for a second grant that would allow for future studies to continue. The town has also applied for a new grant to study Horseshoe Pond. Moving on to our Year 6 tasks. We will continue with dry and wet weather sampling of our outfalls to identify possible illicit discharges. Present additions to Code 167 to the Town Council for approval. Continue all yearly requirements given by the EPA. Hand out our new compost flyer and update the stormwater management plan.
Thanks, Darren. Is there any questions?
Good. My frustration only is that Concord's not involved in this. It still doesn't make sense to me, but Concord, third largest community, that's kind of foreign to me. But anyhow, no, that's a great presentation, and
It was very
all the
well done.
backup was right on, it was clear and easy to understand. It's amazing that this many years have gone by.
I was just thinking that, 6 years. I remember Dawn coming before us, explaining what we have
Yeah,
to
year
do,
six.
and here we are, we're doing it. But amazing, well done.
Thank you.
Barbara?
So you mentioned that DOT is its own entity, if you will. We have DOT sitting in our backyard now, ripping up the ET. What happens with all of that stormwater? Because there's going to be a lot of debris in that stormwater now. So are their drainage system, does that link into our drainage system at any point for stormwater?
It could as it gets closer to the town, but DOT is required to have their own stormwater management plans. They're actually regulated as an MS4 community, just like we are. So not only do we have, regulations on us by EPA, so does the DOT. Just from my own personal experience with DOT, I've seen a little bit of their stormwater management plans, and they're pretty extensive, and they're doing a pretty good job of taking care of their stormwater.
So they're in a whole separate system of their own,
They are.
and they don't dump into ours at all?
Well, that's not always true, because stormwater is gonna go where it's gonna.
Where it's
go.
going, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but they are controlling their stormwater quality.
Okay.
So anytime they're opening up an area, say disturbing some green ground, they have to have their own types of controls out to minimize any impact to that stormwater.
Yeah, because I haven't seen any of the dirt shields up or anything, so.
A lot of times what you'll see, and it's actually, in my opinion, a better water quality control is, you see silt fence on a lot of construction projects. Thank you.
See, we could hear it.
You'll see straw socks or erosion control socks, which actually are a better water control. Yeah. You just don't see the black fence everywhere, so.
Good question.
Anybody have anything further? Thanks, gentlemen. We absolutely appreciate it. Did a great job.
You
Thank
did
you.
a good
Thank
job.
Thank you.
very much. It can be very confusing, and you made it nice and simple.
Thank you.
That's true.
We've also,
It's a confusing issue, yeah.
yeah, we've also been aware of it. Yeah. Now we're making some sense.
It's coming
Just
together.
when we get it done, it'll change.
All right, next on the agenda, under old business, is we have 4 appointments that were tabled from the June 22nd meeting. So would somebody like to take that off the table?
So moved.
Motion by Barbara.
I'll second.
Second to-
Yes.
All right. All those in favor of taking these items off the table signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed or abstain? 700. All right. These were planning and zoning appointments that we put off. And then our next item under new business, I'm probably going to do these all at the same time. I don't know. On the planning and zoning and conservation commission, but planning and zoning, they're really critical boards, and I think our boards should somewhat to a reasonable degree represent the council because they're appointed by the council, and that's how I believe that's designed and supposed to be. And so there've been a few things happening that I personally found a little questionable and concerning, but I'm ready to move on. I didn't pull it off the table. I didn't table it, but I'm, those are my 2 cents on the whole thing. And so, but I'm ready to move forward on it myself. Tom?
So I did make the motion to table, and I wanted to think about it a little bit more and have those people think about it. It's important that the zoning board and planning board pay attention to the overall impact of what's happening. And it feels like, and I've gotten a lot of feedback from community members, like we've gone overboard in housing lately. And while I know that the law says that you can't stop somebody from using their property, it seems like there ought to be at least some pushback on the number of units that are being built and the density of those units along DW Highway. And I just would urge both the zoning board and the planning board to pay close attention to where we are today and the fact that New Hampshire claims we need more housing, that it doesn't all have to show up in Merrimack. We have over 1,500 apartments in the last couple of years defined, and I think that's quite a lot for a community this size. And just urge all these members to continue to be diligent and look out for the better needs of Merrimack as well as the needs of the applicants. Thank you.
Nancy?
Thank you. I agree with Tom. And the other thing is, we have housing, and we're building housing, but we're not building affordable housing. And it's our kids are getting out of college with student loan debt, can't live here. When they're paying $3,000 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment and paying extra for trash and those kinds of things. It's when we're building housing, recognizing that there's a need, the housing should be affordable. And, I think we have to focus on that, not just how many apartments we can build, because that really, it's only meeting the needs of a particular group of people. And we're leaving a lot of young people, families, out of the housing market.
Unfortunately, may I?
Yes.
That's not something that the boards can necessarily deal with. If a builder comes to us and says that they want to build workforce housing, we are very supportive of it, but we can't tell a builder to do workforce housing. So it's kind of a pickle.
Well, the difficulty, I suspect, I'm not a developer of any sort, but I suspect that when the cost of property is where it sits today in southern New Hampshire in general, the workforce housing, possibly, and again, I don't know, but I suspect it's not as lucrative and, worthwhile to do that. We did have a couple parcels for workforce housing that I know came about, the south end of the Commons and across from, King Cone, down there. There are 2 sets, and the one of the north end has not I don't think it started anything on that yet. No, but the other one, actually, I think you mentioned it the other night, is not a bad looking place, very well done, yeah. So, and those have the requirements set forth by the state, I guess, and what's required for workforce housing income levels. Barbara? Sorry,
There is one that will be going in along. Thank you. I was, yeah, I was like, what's the name of that road? But also, I would like to, can we suggest that maybe Tim Thompson, who is the director of the Community Development Office here in town, come and give us a presentation regarding workforce housing and maybe raise the awareness for different people here in town who may be thinking of developing their property into the benefits of workforce housing and what it may entail. Because there is some pros and cons for them as well financially on if they do or they don't go workforce housing. So is that a possibility perhaps?
Council wants it, we can do it.
So if you wanted it, it can happen.
I want it. And I think for those people that do watch us, or it may get out that we have this presentation, it may help raise awareness of what it entails and what may be necessary if they are interested in maybe doing some workforce housing on lots that they want to develop. And understand we don't have that many really large lots left in Merrimack where we're talking about developments the size of, say, Park Place or Webster Green or Flatley or any of those other bigger complexes. So.
Andy?
Yeah, I just want to follow on Tom's comments for a second. In reference to, hearing the public. I think most of the council has heard the public and their concerns about the housing. I just want folks to be aware that, the council has taken actions. We've suggested a change to the ordinance. There should be some public hearings going on the planning board. Encourage the community to get involved and attend those public hearings if they're interested in the subject and they want their voices to be heard. Attend those public hearings, and then once that's done at the planning board, they'll have an opportunity to come here to the council and do the same thing. Interested to hear from the public, not just the developers, but the citizens that are concerned about the direction of Merrimack. Come voice your opinions. We'll be happy to listen.
Very good.
Point.
I'm sorry.
No, I know. She's down in Charlestown, but she can give you a plethora of information, but it entails cost-wise. So if you need help, just volunteer.
Thank you. There were only two problems. One, the public comment normally doesn't happen, but two, we couldn't hear you because you really need to be up.
I'll make a comment.
At the end, that'd be wonderful
That'd
if
be
you
great.
could. All right, so what's the pleasure of the appointment? I had to get my head back in the order here, so, yes.
Mr. Chair, you're taking the new business and old business together?
I was
Or are
going
you gonna
to,
just do old business and then the new business for appointments? And if you're gonna
Actually-
do both together,
we could keep it separate because I was looking for duplicative, if there were,
that's what I was
well, there
gonna
is
say.
one more planning board, but,
If you keep them separate, I think that would be most
yep. Clear.
precise and clear for
Very good.
the minutes.
All righty, so we're on item number 2. Somebody want to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the appointments of those suggested applicants that were tabled from the June 22nd, 2023 Town Council meeting. And that would be Lynn Christensen for both the Planning Board and the Zoning Board of Adjustment, Richard Kinesko for the Zoning Board, and Brian Dano for the Zoning Board.
Second.
Those are all full members.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstain? 700. Thank you. And
They need to,
I don't think he's,
they need to go
he's
to the
here.
town clerk.
Yeah, they'll have to do that. Yep. And they were, when we interviewed, we made everybody, they knew that and we made them aware regardless.
They have 30 days to be sworn in.
Really?
So if they don't get sworn in 30 days, We'll send out letters telling them that they have 30 days to be sworn in. So please come to the town manager's office or the town clerk's office to get sworn in as soon as possible.
Bear with me for just a moment.
And Richard Bryan. Perfect.
All right, under new business, item number 1. We've had 3 more people come forward for committee assignments. Some are redos and some are new. We have Andrew Dwayne for Conservation Commission, full-time, a full member, Heather Fairbanks, Parks and Rec, full member, and Halim Mediuni, Planning Board, full member. And I think we have Andrew and Heather here. So, well, we actually, it's the pleasure of the council. We interviewed these folks about 2 weeks ago, I think, if my memory serves me. Thereabouts. Yeah,
Do you need a motion for that?
yes. I don't know what that was.
That's new.
Okay. Yes, Barbara.
I'd like to make a motion to move to appoint the following individuals to the town committees pursuant to Charter Article 4-8. Andrew Dewin, Conservation Commission as a full member, Heather Fairbanks, Parks and Rec as a full member, and Halim Madruni as a planning board full member.
Motion by Barbara, seconded by Nancy Murphy. Any further discussion on the motion? Tom?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that Halim Madouini is currently serving as a alternate member. Impressed the interview board. We asked him if he would be interested in taking the full-time position that was currently open, thinking that he's now had some experience as an alternate member, and he was willing to step up for that. So we're pretty happy to see that happen. And I listened to the discussion with Heather Fairbanks, and she seemed very ready to jump in and help out with Parks and Rec, and has been working with Parks and Rec for some time. And so that's obviously a great addition to that committee as well.
Thank you, Tom.
And I would just like to add on to that for Heather. I did have the pleasure of being part of that interview as well. She's done a lot for this town. She has been a school bus driver for this town for quite a while. I actually had her as a bus driver when I was in K through 12 schools. And she's also done, she's also done a lot for the dog park here in Merrimack. She's had years of experience with the dog park, and I think she will have a lot to add to the Parks and Rec as well.
Very good. Do you have Andrews?
Andrews. We need to have it for him. There you go. We need to vote, by the way.
Sorry.
Just a minor detail.
All right. Did we, who would make the motions? Barbara and Nancy, there we go. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed or abstained, 700. Thank you. And Heather and Andrew, if you would kindly join me up over here.
By Andy. I don't know if he skipped it or.
Yeah, that I will faithfully and impartially discharge as a warnings and
Faithfully and impartially discharge and perform
all the duties incumbent upon me
He came back.
as a full member of the Conservation Commission, as a full member of the Conservation Commission. According to the best of my abilities.
Is that turned on?
Yes, agreeable to the rules and regulations of this Constitution.
agreeable to the rules and regulations of the Constitution
And the laws of the state of New Hampshire, so help me God.
and the laws of the state of New Hampshire, so help me God.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Can I
That
ask
was, it was not turned on, was it? That's what I'm saying.
Show me green lights.
I think they just need to get closer.
I could try changing the batteries if you guys would like. Worry about it. A lot of paperwork.
What's that?
I mean,
Go ahead and sign it. And then
yeah,
come back.
it's over here.
And we're moving right along. I know I shouldn't speak too soon, should I? Okay, this is down. This is down. This is down. So this is for him.
You need another clip?
No, I'll just put it with.
Yeah, it's in there down. I think there's one of the cover sheet, but yeah.
And these are all signed except for you.
Except for me, all right. I'm gonna get to them a little later. All right, sorry for the delay. Item number 2 under new business, council is to be presented with a final sewer rates and fees study report, which identifies several financial inequities that need to be addressed and to standardize the billing practices. We have Don Tuamala and
Jessica,
Jessica from Wright Pierce.
that's right. About, wow, 15 years ago now, I think we did the first rate study with Wright Pierce for the sewer rates.
Yes.
And this report that Jessica and Don will be going over tonight is the update to the rate study that we had in the beginning. They have a couple of items that they'll be discussing with the council over that they've looked at and like consideration of the council on those items. And Jessica and Don, take it away.
Good evening.
Thank you for having me.
A little closer.
Oh, okay. I thought the green light was on. Good evening. Thank you. My name's Jess Richard, and I'm a strategic funding manager at Wright Pierce, and I'm here to provide an update on this sewer rate study that we completed last year. So this presentation is going to go over what is a sewer rate study, the current sewer rate structure in Merrimack, the goals, the rate structure scenarios that we went over, and the recommendations, and then any questions that you have. Oh. So a sewer rate study evaluates the actual cost of operating and maintaining a sewer system. The American Water Works Association, also known as AWWA, recommends that a rate study is updated anytime a system's needs change. It's really a living document that is updated all the time. The last sewer rate study that we completed, Wright Pierce completed, was done in 2009. And since then, there have been significant capital changes that have been implemented or are currently being implemented since that last study. And some of those project improvements include the sewer interceptor and manhole rehabilitation, the wastewater treatment facility dewatering upgrade, the wastewater treatment facility phase 2 and compost facility upgrade, and then the phase 3, 4, 5, and the pump station upgrades. So the goals when you're doing a sewer rate study are to develop the budget projections, account for operations and maintenance and capital costs, sufficiently fund the wastewater enterprise fund, maintain reserve funds, and make sure that the rates are fair and equitable. The current rate structure as it stands only pays for the operation of the wastewater treatment facility. It does not include upgrades. Upgrades are financed through the capital reserve account, and the annual recommendation, it says the contribution should be at least 50% of the operating budget. They also are funded through New Hampshire DES state revolving fund loans and state aid grants, although that has not been fully funded through the legislature in the past 10 years. So we looked at some rate model scenarios. One of the rate model scenarios was no future rate increases. That assumes no increases through fiscal year 31-32. And that would mean there would be a deficit of over 20 million by 31-32. We looked at a bond funding method, which assumes all upgrades are funded through the state SRF. And we also looked at the capital reserve funding model, which assumes all upgrades are funded through the town's capital reserve fund. These are the sewer user rates as a percentage of revenue. So total revenues in fiscal 21-22 were approximately 6.3 million. Residential users accounted for 27% of the revenue, and others in that group right there, that 7% account for connection fees, interest, and things of that nature. So benchmarking. So since we've been doing this rate study, things have bounced around a little bit, but Merrimack has bounced between the 5th lowest and the 7th during the rate study period. Just for information's sake, the Bodwell Waste Service Corporation, the one rate below Merrimack, they have not increased their rates since 2005, and it also does not account for the additional fees charged to Londonderry to have their sewer processed through Manchester. So when we looked at the bond funding method, that would require significant withdrawals from the Capital Reserve Fund. The Capital Reserve Fund would drop below the recommended level by fiscal 28-29. The recommended level would be 6 months of the current year's operating budget plus capital outlay costs, and the fund would reach a deficit by fiscal year 31-32, would not be able to support the operating budget. The recommended rates would also result in underfunding the budget in fiscal years 26 through 29 and would require substantial rate increases, as you can see there. Okay. This is the capital reserve model that we also looked at, and this is the recommended model. The capital reserve model assumes that all major upgrades in the 10-year planning window are funded through the town's capital reserve fund. This would result in a capital reserve balance of 7.9 million in fiscal year 30-31, in line with the fiscal 20-21 balance of 6.7 year. This model minimizes the impact to your users. As part of this study, we also looked at septage and sludge tipping fees. Septage and sludge tipping fees represent about 13% of the total revenues, are an important factor in maintaining very affordable user rates for residents and businesses of Merrimack. Septage is the material that's pumped out of septic tanks, typically once every 3 to 5 years, and compared to domestic wastewater, septage is highly concentrated. For this evaluation, it was assumed that septage tipping fees would increase from the existing rate of 78.40 gallon per 1,000 gallons by 3 to 4.5% every 2 years to partially defray inflation costs. We recommended that the town of Merrimack monitor the market costs for septage receiving and implement incremental increases as the market allows. So sludge tipping fees. Sludge is a normal byproduct of all wastewater treatment facilities. Dewatered sludge is composted to produce a Class A finished product that is distributed to the public and commercial entities for landscaping and other practices. The sludge processing market has fewer options than the septage market, and the rates have increased over time. So we recommend that the rates really realistically be increased over time to align with inflation. And compost sales fees. We really, for this rate study, we just recommended nominal rate increase for this, or a fee increase, and that was just based in line with inflation. This table shows what the Merrimack rates are, and this is based on the rate table that was done by New Hampshire DES. So you can see the Merrimack 2020 rate right there, the current rate, and then what we recommend as the it's hard to see, but as the fiscal 30-31 recommended rate of 440. The one that's to your far right, the fiscal 30-31 rate, that's it says it's the CRF model, but it is actually the bond funded model, and that shows you how high that rate would be compared to other communities.
On this chart, we're raising our rates to show where we would be if could you go back a second, Don? Hit the up arrow. Just hit your up arrow. You got to get out of what you're in. So when you're looking at this chart, we're saying that every one of those communities on this chart for the next 10 years would not raise their rate. And if we increased our rate per the CRF model, we'll still be in the bottom quarter quadrant of rates if nobody else raised their rates. We know that Nashua's going to raise their rates. We know Concord's going to raise their rates over that period. This is just a flat line of where we would be if nobody else raised their rate at that time.
Yeah, this is just an example of current rates.
So is the difference between, I guess, the middle one, which is really the CRF model, and the bond model, is the interest is what's driving the difference that would, where does that extra cost come from that you'd have to raise the rates that much more on the bond model?
On the bond model?
Yeah.
Because you're going to be depleting your, you're going to be taking those payments and, hold on. Let me just go to here. So basically what you're going to be doing when you're doing the bond model is you're going to have more payments up front than the CRF. So you've built up your capital reserve fund, and you're building that up. So when those interest payments come, the debt service payments come, you can pay those down. When we do the bond model, you're depleting your capital reserve fund quicker, and that impact hits your residential users. And those charts should be in the package that you received.
Really lost. If it helps anybody else.
All right. So
I apologize
basically,
it helps.
basically what it is, think of it this way. We use capital reserve funds to smooth out the tax rate, so we don't bond. We use them as savings accounts. What Jessica's saying is that if we use the same method in wastewater, we would smooth out the rate because we would be able to adjust what we're depositing in the capital reserve funds over time to smooth out the rate. If we go ahead with a bond fund, we would probably not be putting as much money into capital reserve funds because we're going to bond it. And as we know, when we bonded the $20 million and then we came back and bonded $10 million and we did the 3 bonds for the current project, the first couple of years really drove down our cash balance in the account because they were higher amounts. And as the bond got longer on, longer on in the process, it's leveled back off. We had to build up to make those bond payments for substantially complete after 1 year, and then it would level off in the future years. That's what she's saying with these two, is that we wouldn't be putting as much money into capital reserve funds, and when the bond payments in this model would go forward, we'd have to put more money in to pay those bonds.
Maybe you're gonna ask the same question.
I don't know.
Did that help or make it more
No,
confusing?
no, that, I get that.
Why are we
I'm
doing
wondering,
bonds?
this conversation is about potential future projects, or is it because of the cost of doing business has gone up?
Because right now, it's all fee-based, right?
Correct.
So where did this whole idea of bonds, the only time we've used bonds is for the new construction.
Correct.
So
That's
I
done.
think I'm confused as why are we even talking about a bond for
Well, I-
maintaining what we.
I think what she was saying, like, we do have some pump stations that need to be done. You'll see that. We have some pump stations
But
that
that's a
still need to
different
be
decision.
come through. And instead of bonding those, the first upgrade we did way back when is starting to come up to in 2031, 28, 29 years that we might have to look at again. It was just to show if the better model is to fund as you go and not think about keeping your rates low and then bonding when you need to bond. It's more for a discussion point that if you go with the bonding method in 2031, your rate will be almost $200 higher than if you go with the
But what are we
steady.
bonding at this point?
Those are projects that they looked at when
In the
they.
capital
would need-
improvement
okay,
plan,
that's the
yes.
missing piece.
Yes.
Yes,
from
they have a capital improvement plan that they looked at over those 10 years. And it's sewer line infrastructure, it's sewer line rehab, it's sewer
Okay,
line.
that's information we didn't.
Sorry,
have ahead of
we
time.
jumped into
That's all right.
before. Yes.
That's right, 'cause I came in with how we're going to maintain and the fees to maintain, nothing about
I
improvement.
mean, I totally get it, right? But if you look at this, that, you know, in both scenarios, revenue's the same and the system upkeep's the same. The only thing different between these two payments should be the cost of the debt services. And are we saying that is $163 impact to the sewer rate fee, just the cost of debt services between the two models?
Because you're going to deplete what's going to happen, as I said, is that your capital reserve fund. So you're looking at keeping a capital reserve fund, which is 50% of your operating budget. You're going to deplete that, and then you're going to start impacting your operating budget. So it'll be running in the negative.
So,
And that's in that model was looked at. And this predates me, what was going on with the bond funding model, but that is in the package and it should be one of the attachments.
it's not in this package, so.
It would look like this, it should be one of the appendices
it.
now.
You said somewhere along the way, an annual recommended contribution of at least 50% of the operating budget into the.
And that was the
capital reserve fund?
recommendation out of the 2009 rate model, the rate study.
2009 rate
Yes.
study. And we still think that's required?
No, that was the recommendation then, and this model looks at increasing your capital reserve account so that when you're getting these debt service payments, you're paying it through your capital reserve fund.
I don't know, you lost me back at page 2, I think, and I just don't understand the difference between the rates being paid by the individual users and capital reserve funds and bonds that are being paid by the entire town. Am I mistaken, or
It's not the entire town.
No,
It's still by rate users.
Still users.
the bonds that we're talking about
Yeah,
are
would
being
be
paid
paid
for
by
out
the
of the
rate users.
wastewater treatment fund?
Correct.
And the capital reserve fund is being funded.
Through the wastewater treatment fund.
Fund.
That's that separate article we do every year?
No, I understand
Yeah,
that.
no, I know
but it
you-
didn't-
but, yeah.
That's not clear here,
No,
that you're
no.
talking about two separate things.
Correct. Correct.
I'm agreeing with you, John.
Yes. Okay.
we'll continue, and if we're still floundering, we'll let you know.
Okay, well, you should be.
Oh, we're
I
floundering.
can forward a copy of this to you. It's in the appendices. It's just, I mean, it's hard to see on an 11 by 17, so I couldn't put it up there to run
No.
through this. So,
And fair enough.
and I apologize.
think
I thought you had this
no,
this
it-
spreadsheet.
For me also, are we now anticipating things that we had not previously anticipated? Because we had some increases that we've got in the plan for the upgrades and everything we've done. And that, I thought, is pretty much everything for the time being. And whereas everything else lasted for almost 50 years, I thought we'd go probably 30 without any major stuff. But, so we didn't plan on pump stations and things of that sort?
They were in the capital reserve funds. The pump stations were in the capital reserve funds, and we always planned on paying them out of they were always in the CIP, and we always planned on paying them out of capital reserve funds. Pennachuck, the one on Pearson Road. There's several of them that were Birch Street, things of that sort that were going to come and be upgraded through the fund itself, capital reserve funding for the fund. Telemetry was a big one. We don't know what the cost was. So that's up in the air. Telemetry. And there's a couple others and other things coming down the road in the next 10 years. Remember, we did the first, way back when in 2004, I believe, 4 or 5, we did a $5 million plan upgrade with cash. That was that'd be 30 years old. There's going to be maybe some upgrades with that. They sat down with the department and looked at planning out for 10 years in the future. And they have a plan for the 10 years in the future for capital needs. What I could say to you is forget the bond. We even talked about the bond. We're not going to do the bond. It's out there. We've always funded wastewater as a pay-as-you-go kind of thing. The only reason why we did these last 3 upgrades with bonding is because they were too much money. $30 million. Couldn't take it out of the fund. We did $2.8 million for the dewatering. The only reason why I did that is because it was cheaper to borrow the money. I think we got a 0.5% interest rate on that for 10 years. So it's cheaper to borrow the money than for us to pay it out of cash. Those are the things we look at when we go there. Forget that $603. Just get it out of your memory. It's really the real number is going to be $440 in 3031. That's what we're projecting the rate to be for the wastewater user fee for residential.
So when we did the bonds for the work at the facility, we had already projected rate increases over 5 years. Are these the same numbers, or are they more, and what's the differential?
These are different numbers. When you did that study, what we're doing is we're looking at the debt service impacts. We look at the minor capital improvements, the vehicle capital improvements, roll those in, and then we were looking at the revenues. So this gives you more of a realistic picture over those 10 years.
So what are you going to ask us for tonight? Anything?
Yeah, if we continue the presentation, because it's going to be speaking about the inequities of speaking of apartments, the new apartments, and all that type of thing.
Major difference.
And that's a big part of tonight, that conversation, so.
You're right.
So
We only got 3 more pages, so.
But it's
you're going to speak to it right now?
Yes.
Jess?
So another thing that we looked at was,
sorry if we've confused you.
was so the current we looked at the apartment fee comparison. So basically right now apartments are their consumption is based on water usage, which is very similar to commercial connections. Based on our evaluation of the apartment usage, residents pay on average about $67 per year, or 22% of the flat rate that's charged to residential users. That's the service that's provided to the apartments is the same, and converting the apartments to a flat rate, the town would receive an additional approximately $215 million, which is that red line. That's based on the number of units that were identified in January of 2022. So that doesn't include anything new. But then accounting for new construction back in January of 2022, we estimated that an additional $150,000 could be received for a conservative estimate of about $365,000 in revenue annually. Again, that's based on the January 2022 evaluation. And this rate study does take into consideration that those apartments are included and escalated based on a growth factor of 0.28 each year. And that growth factor is based on 10 years of connection fees, just a general 10 years of connection fees and what that increase is.
You said 215 million. I think you meant 215,000.
215,000, yes.
I was going to
Thank
say,
you.
wow. That was one of my questions.
No, 215,000,
Hopefully she's right.
yes.
So if I'm
So it's just
understanding correctly,
additional revenue.
if you have a house that pays how much a year fees? 300?
304
Four.
right now.
You take an apartment with similar configuration in terms of square feet and stuff. They're only paying $67 a year.
Correct.
So the proposal is to have those units be treated like any other residence and have them pay 304.
Correct.
Okay.
Right now it's measured by flow going
By
in.
flow,
Right,
exactly.
which is what commercial,
Right.
I think, fair is fair. Well, what? Oh, wait.
So,
Okay.
and that was it. And I apologize. I thought you all had the report, and had read the report. So I apologize. I
Okay.
would have gone through this in more detail. I was just presenting the findings of the report.
I think you got the reaction when you talked about bond, because I was going, what bond?
No, and
That
that
was
was
me.
just when we do a rate study, we look at different scenarios, and that was just to compare different scenarios instead of sticking with the same scenario that you typically
Gotcha.
do. So that was just one of the scenarios, and it's explained in the report, and you can
Okay.
see the
Understood.
accounting for that.
What would need to be done in order to change that fee for units?
Are you going to be coming back with the presentation where is your study or did you?
Dawn, the
So-
question's to you.
We'd have to come back to the town council for them to vote on a fee structure change.
Okay.
And we do a more in-depth look at the rate increases that we would be projecting, as well as this $300,000 for the apartments, if that would be, the increase, because there's additional apartments that we were looking at as well. So we'd come back with that. We'd come back with a new, the 1212. What was it, 1212?
Well, 12, 12, 10, 10, 7, I think.
Yeah, 12, 12, 10, 10, 7 would be
Percent.
percent increase every other year. So it'd be 12%, which is what we're currently doing this year in 23, 24. Be 12% in 25, 26. Be 10% in 28, 30. They would break it out that way. Might be off a year, but we'd come back and actually show you where we would
Each
be
year.
each year, where we would be with fund balance like we did before. So you could see where we'd be at fund balance, where we could see what's going on. The other thing they take into account is inflationary measures on the budget. And just assume that each year the budget is going to increase by X percent. And I think, what was the inflationary
So we
measure
assumed
projected?
that for the first, based on what we were seeing for fuel, chemical costs, and things of that nature, we were estimating 7% for 3 years and then dropping it down to 3%, just to be conservative to cover those costs.
7% inflation?
7%, yeah, an escalation factor for the operating budget.
Per year
Correct.
or per 3-year period?
7% per year because there was a large jump in order to make up that difference, and then 3%.
So they were assuming 7%, 7%, 7%.
And then
on the budget,
3%.
and then 3% going forward for chemical, electricity, and other items with it. So there are some things that, we'd like to discuss, and that's how we come up with the 12, 12, 10, 10, 7 on that. Seeing the faces tonight, I think we'd come back and present.
Confused?
No,
we-
it's
we-
just big numbers.
we present this in a light that you guys have seen in the past. Now, remember, this process started with the previous wastewater treatment director, a different individual with Wright Pierce. Jessica took it on towards the end. Dawn has jumped in after the report was kind of completed. So there's a lot of nuances that happened during this period. The biggest point that we'd like you to take away tonight and absorb is that apartment structure, the apartment building structure, and the inequity with the apartment building.
Barbara, some,
Yeah, also, whatever you come back to us with, and it doesn't hurt to have new eyes. But when we went out for that bond, we promised people this would be the rate structure for the next so many years, which means I don't want to see a rate structure that supersedes that because that went out to vote and that's what was approved. So you're going to have to look and see what the final year on that agreement was before you bring and start your new rate structure based on that.
Okay.
Because that's what they voted for.
Okay.
when's the final increase for this current plan that we've done? Is it wrapping up this year or?
I thought it was 2005, maybe. You have to look at the record.
No, we talked, when we did the plant upgrade, when we changed, did all that, or in the process of all that
There was
work.
going to be an increase, right?
We're gonna
It
be
was
increases,
projected.
and when, I mean, it was like every other year, like you're talking about. for the-
It's every,
That's what
I
Bob was
I have to
talking
look.
Okay,
I don't have
not a
that
problem.
top of my head.
You're also, to be clear in my own mind, we currently try to keep the cash balance at a couple million now that you're planning on raising that to 2.5, did I read?
Yes, the cash balance right now is trying to be at $2 million for, lack of a better word, fund balance in the enterprise fund. Looking to raise that to $2.5 million because the expenses are going up as well.
I think, when they're prepared to bring it forward, we just, the numbers seem big, the inflation thing, I kind of get it. But it would be good to see what's your well-rounded picture, be ready, I guess, for a long night.
Yeah, I think we have to recognize some inflation pressures and, at the end of the day, I think we need to look at a rate structure that's going to keep the system maintained to the level that, the community expects. Understand what we communicated when we went out for bond, but at the end of the day, none of us could forecast what the economy was going to do between then and now. And at the end of the day, we got to take care of the system. So that's what I would like to see when we come forward, is something that's going to keep and maintain the system to the same standard it is today.
I can tell you right now that we're looking at double-digit inflation for chemicals from one year to the next.
And I think addressing what Barbara's talking about, I think it's okay to look at what we said then, what we're proposing now, and easily justifying because the chemical is this. So I think it's a matter of communicating to the public
Right. No,
the differences, acknowledging we said this. This is what we really need to maintain, what Mr. Hunter is talking about. And being able to explain the
Right.
differences. That's all.
I guess the big question, like I said tonight, is the apartments.
Yeah.
That
I
was
think
that
it's
was
good.
that was major.
Major.
It's a major change to the way we do things, and that's going to be a lot of
It's also fair.
yes. So
Fair, but it's a major change. I mean, it's
It is.
over, what, 5 times increase to say that they're gonna go from 67 to 304? Or
Yeah.
4+ times increase? We can't do that all at one time, a 400% increase on somebody.
On the things that, except for the new ones coming up, we could.
Maybe so, but
But I understand what you're saying.
no,
I mean, it has to be carefully considered. You
Yes.
can't just do that.
understanding that too, and there are
How
a
did we
lot
ever
of
get
pressures.
off by that much is kind of a surprising situation, but I mean, everybody who's a user, a residential user, gets charged a flat fee.
Right.
And the other people get charged a percentage of the amount of water they use theoretically.
Theoretically, industrial, commercial get the percent of water.
But-
And then if they don't hit a certain limit, they get the flat fee. But there's calculations to go around. And this doesn't take into account Anheuser-Busch. 42% of our revenues come from Anheuser-Busch. We're not touching Anheuser-Busch. They're gonna
But it was
be
not
under,
necessary yet.
it's not necessary to touch them at this time. We have a separate contract that we have to negotiate with them in a couple of years. And that's when we make our changes to them. So, and we look at equities there as well. So, understanding, I think, we got an idea of what you'd like to see coming back, with that and the comparison factor. But we wanted to get this change out there to let people know that, you know, the council know that there is an inequity and we are looking at it, and we will bring a plan forward to not make that inequity go from 0 to 100 in one day, but over time to try to get them up and operational so that everybody's being charged the same. And they do pay a larger fee to connect.
The building.
Well, the
The
building
building
gets
does.
charged.
Building gets charged a larger connection fee than if I'm building a regular
But
house
it's not
too.
$2,000 a unit.
No, it's not $2,000 a unit. It's based on water consumption. The way we changed it years ago. So we have to look at all of those things as well. So
All right, and when do you think you're coming back with?
August is going to be tight. It's another one meeting, probably September,
September.
early September. So we can look at it.
All right. Everybody else set?
And sorry for
Thanks, Jess.
And I do have anybody who wants the report, I do have it. There is one that's going to be put in the council chambers as well. This is double-sided. If we printed it out single-sided, it would be as thick as the packet. So we figured we didn't need to kill 7 trees for it, but if you want it, we'll definitely let you have it, give it to you. So just let me know.
All right.
Or if you want it electronically because you want to read it on your cell phone, let me know.
My cell phone.
All right.
Put it on Audible so I can listen to it maybe.
what? So you go to sleep?
Go to sleep
easier?
and just absorb it overnight.
Good luck. Put you sound asleep. Thank you, Jess. Appreciate it. And
Jessica,
Don,
thank
don't
you.
go away.
Don's here for a couple more things.
Yeah, you're here for a little bit.
Don may not want to say anything after that.
All right, you know what, other news. Item 3, the council to receive an update on the Sauhegan River Trail project status, construction costs, and use of Watson Park as a staging area.
Leo's coming back.
And Leo,
Leo's coming back to join Dawn. About 8-10 months ago, Kyle came before the council and talked about an increased amount that the project's costing us. And that was before we went out to bid. We were in the process of going out to bid. So we went out to bid and we received the bids and dealing with the state and the federal government, because this is a TAP grant, there was a lot of red tape that we had to cut through. We have final numbers now, and Dawn is here to pick up those pieces from when Kyle first came here and asked for, I believe, $1.7 million to what Dawn's coming here for the final project calls that we actually went out and got solid numbers now. So there's a little bit additional money that we would have to take out of capital reserve funds. But remember, the majority of this money is coming from an 80-20 split,
20.
federal government split. Don?
Hi.
Hi.
Now this one I can talk to better, easier. I believe Kyle came last June, so it was a little over a year ago. The numbers that are in the previous pricing were what he had presented to you back last June. We have now got a signed contract for the construction part. We've gone through the planning and engineering. Do you need me to back up to what project this is? Or have you feel comfortable
You
enough
might
with
want
this?
to just review it for Mackenzie's sake. And
This is the trail that goes from Watson Park underneath the Chamberlain Bridge, alongside the sluiceway and then across the area where that used to flood, the flood impound area, across that area, and then connecting into the trail system that connects into the high school. This was started, it was a TAP grant that was started back in 2013, 2014. It has, since it's been a very sensitive area, DES had a lot of restrictions that they've put on us, and this project has increased every permit that we had to go through, and the final one that we had to go through that has bumped the construction cost that you see tonight is because of the wetlands. They didn't allow us to do the boardwalk that we wanted to. We now have to put helica piles in and build a walkway across. They want to have something that will last over 50 years without a whole lot of maintenance, so, and they felt that was better for that area to be able to do that. Fortunately, Leo here is certified with inspecting the piles, so he can help us significantly. Yes. Like, ha. So that's it in a nutshell, basically. We had one other TAP grant that I had gotten in the 2016, 2017 round. We ended up foregoing that, but taking the money and putting that into this project also. And then the costs still have risen, and this is, like I said, we have signed the construction contract, and they are set to begin construction the 1st of October. So we're looking at an increase, and I didn't realize, the last time Kyle had been here was a year ago, and I didn't realize the costs had gone this high. This wasn't one of my projects that I was overseeing. So the signed contract, the total project overall is $2,219,000. And that's a difference between what Kyle presented to you of $456,000. Like Paul said, we have an 80-20 split. So 80% is under state funding, and the town is paying 20%. The state has agreed, and I have the letter from the state that states that they are agreeable to the additional funding.
Right. The big thing the last time made it very worthwhile to me, and Andy had pointed it out, that the cost, I don't know what my question is going to be, what's the difference today? The cost of work that we have to do on Chamberlain Bridge, it's work we had to do, and so the extra cost of our 20% match before was like $80-some thousand, as I remember. So if I'm making sense, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
Yes,
I'm not being very clear.
this will help the bridge some. We still will have deficiencies that will have to be addressed. And we actually have that bridge in another program.
Right, but the project, the work that's included in this work of the bridge, what would that cost be broken out from the trail system?
It was about $1 million. I believe that's what he had told me.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, there was along the roadway there was some damage to the sidewalk along the bridge there that had to be repaired. Our 20% at the time, if I remember correctly, just doing some math, was like 350 or something in that area.
Yep.
And that was about the same cost as the repair to the bridge. So if I understand this now, our 350 is going to go to a little over 400, our 20% share.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what you're asking, Finley, is did the cost of that repair go up, or is this just in addition to the 350 we would have spent regardless?
Right, I don't know if you've calculated that out in any fashion, because if it's the total project cost, including the bridge work, has gone up a certain percent, then that cost of that bridge work is going to be a little higher. It's not that we're spending an extra 150 grand. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
The overall cost of the project did go up. It's been a number of years, and the cost of materials has skyrocketed. This was actually the second time it went out to bid, and then we only got one bidder.
Right.
So it's, I wasn't here during that part when it went out to bid. It came-
Don, I guess what they're asking is, if we had to do the sidewalk and repair that beam underneath, would that cost $443,000 for ourselves if we had to do that, or would it be more?
It would be more.
Be more.
Yeah.
So basically, what we're saying is that, to answer your question, it's still a bargain for us to do this project and get that part of the work done, because if we didn't do this project, we'd have to repair the sidewalk, repair that beam that they have already said was deficient. That I-beam underneath that's
And
already
they've added-
deficient.
They've added more to that.
And they've added more to
That
that
is
project.
included. The beam.
The beam is being replaced, yes.
Yeah, so there's a lot more work going on at the Chamberlain Bridge that if we didn't have this 80/20, it'd cost us more
Would be
than
that much more.
the $443,000 that the total project is costing.
Actually, I don't even know if I want to bring it up. That bridge is scheduled for a major overhaul. Is it in 10 years or something?
It's within the 10-year plan, yes.
Yeah. And so I don't know what the plan is.
We are talking
Alright,
with
that's why I don't
DOT,
even know.
we are talking with DOT right now. Since it's an historic bridge, since it's a curved bridge on one side, it's historic, we're talking with DOT right now about, we like the way the bridge looks, we'd like to keep it that way.
Right.
Of course, with all those things being said, the cost goes up with the bridge, but we're trying to keep it historically as looking as possible with the granite block and things of that sort. Trying to keep the historic look to the bridge as much as possible. So it is in the 10-year plan, bridge plan. We have tried to get it in there. I don't know if it's been approved at this wave or not, but we're trying to get it within 3032.
Okay. All right.
It is within the plan because last fall, I had done a presentation on this for adding a sidewalk on the other side. And from there, it kind of escalated, and when I came back, all of a sudden, they had actually reconstruction of the bridge for 6.6 million. I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. We're not reconstructing the bridge. We want to rehab and save the bridge. So we are under negotiations with them. But it is in a program. I had asked for the sidewalk on the other side, which is part of the plan, is what we were doing at the time. But it sort of grew.
This project has grown.
It-
Did you want to speak to the Watson Park as a staging area?
I
don't know.
do.
Please.
Please, yeah. So the other part of this was, now what? You won't go back? Need glasses, can't see. The other part is that we need to have an area where we can lay down. Let's see, I'm gonna get out of that, start over. Let's see, close, no, cancel that. It won't let me out. Yeah, I know. It won't, I zoomed it in, now it won't zoom me out. Zoom out. Reflow, actual size? Well, no, it's not the actual size.
How about the plus minus up above?
Maybe. It didn't, the plus didn't work the last time.
Hey, Finley.
There we go. Okay. We're good.
Billy, I'm so impressed.
Sorry.
Wow.
I don't generally have this much trouble. It's a lack of sleep. Actually, what I do need is,
They mocked me because I had a flip phone for decades.
And how long ago?
Oh, it was a while now.
so the closest place for them to be able to have the trailer, to be able to work out of, to be able to put the materials that we need, because right now they're manufacturing the materials that are going to be needed for this project. And they need to bring them in on big trucks and they need to store them in places. The fire department is way too small to be able to. So the fire station is down here, which I think is just off the screen. So they would like to put the trailer up. If you go into Watson Park at the far end, there is a gate. And if you go through the gate on the left-hand side, there is an area that's, there's a pole there that has electricity already there. They can easily put the trailer out of the way so that the sewer department can still get through for their easement and all of that sort of good stuff. So they need to be able to have a trailer there. That would be a good spot because it has the electric drops. We don't have to do anything more. The other thing they need to do is, this is the area down here at the bottom where they're going to be going through with the trail. So right beside that, right beside the existing fence line that's out there right now, they would like to put up a temporary fence just on the ground and be able to store all the materials in there so that they can bring them in and out, and to be able to come across the side slope to be able to get to that. And of course, once they're all done, they'll be putting it all back to the grass again.
So they're not digging in Watson Park.
No,
They're not going to dig.
no.
It's just surface traffic, and whatever they disturb, they're going to repair.
Yep.
The reason why we didn't want the trailer in the parking lot, because it would take up too much of the parking lot. People going to the ice skating rink in the winter, if the trailer was in the parking lot, it takes up the spots. They won't be able to go to the ice skating rink. It's going to be off the side. It's going to be pushed back almost to the wood line, so we can still have access for, if sewer needs to go out there, access for people to go ice skating. Christmas tree sales still be able to happen in the parking lot. So that's why we were thinking that's the best location for the trailer, that it's not just sticking in the middle of Watson Park. It's off to the side. It's not going to disrupt anything.
How long is this project planning to take?
They're going to start in October, and they wanted to do go through the winter because they want the ground frozen. So this is the perfect time for them. So I believe they had said about 6 months.
They want the ground frozen so they can drive across Watson Park, or?
No, for the putting in the piles and the boardwalk area.
But there's not a boardwalk area, you were saying, or there is a boardwalk area?
They're putting a walkway across with the helical piles across the area that's the impound area. I don't have a picture of
Behind the
that.
fire station.
Well,
By
I
the fire
understand,
station.
I understand where it
They-
is.
they
I'm
want
trying to
that-
understand what they're building. You're talking about piles, not piles of dirt, but
No,
piles of
pilings.
pilings?
Pi-
And then
drill in the ground.
building a bridge across those two
Building,
pilings?
right, a walking bridge, basically.
Yes.
Okay. And we haven't replaced the bridge that's across the
Not-
Mohegan River, right?
Not yet.
No, but this goes up into horse,
No, I know.
80 acres.
I know. We're just talking about $2 million worth of work
Yep.
for a trail, and we can't even replace the bridge that's across the river because it cost $1 million or something like that. And
That's another project.
I know. But you think it's September, or October through the winter time?
It's starting after October 1st through the winter time.
And
That's
it'll
the
be out
time,
of there in April or something?
something
or-
like that.
And cleaned up and ruts
For
and
the-
stuff
for
like
the
that'll
spring.
be filled. The 2 feet deep line is not going to get damaged and all that.
It's not supposed to.
Not supposed to.
Because if they're going over in October, the ground's pretty firm then. And then through the winter, through the frost, and they're hoping to
They
be
just have
done
to be out
before
of there
spring.
before spring.
And if they
before the
do
mud
start
season.
digging up,
They know
They gotta
they'll know
stop.
they can. Don knows
Yeah,
that.
no,
yeah.
I can't.
Barbara?
So getting back to the money, where's it coming from?
capital reserve funding.
Which one? Sorry.
Road infrastructure.
Road.
8910.
Road infrastructure. And
And-
there's money in there.
Enough?
Yes. Yes, because we did get additional monies for the state that we were planning that we weren't going to get for another bridge project. We got additional monies from the state that we were funding the bridge project up the road and we got almost $700,000 to help us offset those costs. So we have some additional funding that we can take from road infrastructure to do this.
Okay, Nancy.
Thank you. Just have a question. You notice it said strip and store the loam that will be, is that right there they're gonna
Yeah.
do it? And then the plan, when this is all finished, and so it sounds like it'll be spring when it's all finished, will be to seed. What's the irrigation, what's the plan for watering? Somebody just put in a lot of money on a lawn. I know how long that takes to grow and how much water. Is there a way to, I mean, is it sprayed on kind of grass or seeding? I'm just
Hydro seeding?
hydroseed.
Hydro seed.
Just imagine that it will be a while. That area won't probably be
That area
accessible.
was never great for lawn anyway.
Yeah.
Although this year is not bad because we've had so much rain.
True.
Thanks. Thanks.
All right. Does anybody have anything further? Any questions? What's the pleasure?
What's the question?
I need you to,
I imagine
John, go to the
to
screen
continue.
before. We need you to authorize the additional expenditure of $456,098, $456,098.30, of which $364,878.64 will be coming from the New Hampshire DOT federal government, and the state town's portion of $91,219.66 to come from the Road Infrastructure Capital Reserves Fund.
So moved.
And I'll second.
Okay, who made the motion then?
Do it, Andy.
Andy? Andy by motion. A motion by Andy, seconded by Mackenzie. Any further discussion on the motion?
Yeah, I wanted to understand. So what you're saying is we're adding the entire additional total project cost and then saying that we're funding 91,000, the state's funding the other half because they're going to reimburse us? We have to pay for the whole thing and then they'll reimburse us after the fact? Or-
Correct. That is correct. We have to raise and appropriate the full amount of $456,000, and then we get reimbursed. Their portion, only $91,000 will be coming out of the Capital Reserve Fund.
The whole, but the whole thing's coming from us and then we're being reimbursed.
Correct.
After the project's complete or?
No,
As it goes.
as it
Monthly,
goes?
monthly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, as it goes. We bill them monthly, and they reimburse us.
Okay, thank you.
Monthly.
Awesome.
All right. See no further comments or questions? I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. 6-1-0 with Barbara in the negative.
Paul, could if I could trouble you, could I get an updated copy of the construction plans? I'd like to share it with the Conservation Commission. I know they're interested in this project. So I know the walkway has changed a little bit, so whatever details we have, I'd like to be able to share.
We'll
Thank
get that to you, and we'll get it to the Town Center Committee.
Thank you. We've
Actually,
heard that.
Actually, Nelson Disco knows all about it, and he probably has the plans himself.
He's been telling me this was coming.
All
I was
right.
kind of surprised she's not here tonight, actually.
Paul, is there any way you can send that to the whole town council?
I'll
Or
send it to
Dawn?
you. I don't either, but we have it.
If we can't email it, we'll definitely put a set of the plans up in the council chambers.
All right. Very good. So we'll move on to item 4 under new
But-
business.
but
Yes. Oh, what?
The use of Watson Park?
Oh, thank you,
please.
Don.
No.
I'm thinking they should drive over the whole place, so they have to reseed the whole thing. It's
One way to get it done.
so anyhow. I mean,
I
I don't know
just-
where else to put it. I never thought about using that, but I don't know where else it could be done.
As long as they have access to the skating rink. Sure.
They'll have access to the skating rink. They'll have access to the pavilion. They'll have access to the
Sewer.
pergola. They'll have still have access to the water, down to
Which
the
you won't
water.
need in October.
But you know,
Yeah, so this is going next to the black fence that's there, so there's nothing in that area. to
nothing in
park
the,
any-
actually, it's going where they can't get to anyways, because that's where all the contaminated soil and stuff was being, that's where in the plan, that's where all the contaminated soil is. So it's
Where?
going right at the front,
Right up
trailer?
next to.
right by the
to
trailer,
What
yes.
is there?
Yes,
Okay.
that's why we fenced it off. It's where the old Sousley's used to be, in that
No,
area.
we fenced it off because we had ne'er-do-wells using the park. And if,
No.
Well, no,
we fenced off
not
the
this
river
part.
to
This part
that.
was always fenced
Oh,
off.
okay,
Yeah,
all right.
top.
This is the
Well, they were
original
homes.
black
They were
fence, not
big
the new
cabins
black
and all.
fence.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's going up there.
all right, I'm not opposed to it because I'm imagining it will be nicely done.
It was more of an informational thing, so when you see a trailer come into the park,
So we'll see.
or where you see, when you get the phone call saying, there's a trailer at Watson
what
Park,
is
what is
that?
it? You know what it is, and you know, why are they putting a fence in? That's why they're putting a fence in, it's
Yeah.
for their storage.
All right.
Can we also make sure that goes up on the Facebook page for the town so that,
We'll get, yes, we'll get everything we
idea.
can on the website and Facebook page, and do all our posting and everything, and actually, maybe we'll have Nicholas do a Merrimack moment when they
Good idea.
start doing
They-
some of this stuff. to
They are
explain it
planning that.
easy, so
and
we'll
I
get
was-
it up there.
Going to get it up as we get a little bit closer, since this is out, but as soon as they start bringing things in, we'll make sure we
Right.
get it out there. Yeah, oh, I know.
So we're good on Watson, Nancy? Yes.
I just wanted to ask, since construction vehicles will be going in and stuff, will there still be parking for citizens that won't, it won't
Yeah.
be permanently parked? And, thank you.
It's just this equipment, that
Which is
fenced area.
important.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so if everybody's all set with that, if you're not, let it be known now.
No heartaches.
So, all right. Forever hold your peace. Yes, I think we're all set there, Don.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and item number 4, the council will consider the request to withdraw and expend $750,000 from the Road Infrastructure Capital Reserve Fund for the Timber Lane, Fernwood Drive drainage installation and road reconstruction project. Did you want to touch on it first, or?
Basically, Nancy was kind of stealing my thunder a little bit. This is the one that the citizens came in and put that $3 million bond in. We told them that we were looking at doing drainage in that area over the next X number of years. This is the first project overlapping the 2 years, last fiscal year and this fiscal year. We've been setting aside money to do the project of about $325,000 in the capital reserve fund for this. This is the low-lying area that's very sandy soil, not great drainage, and this is the first portion of the project. Years ago, we did part of the project to take the water from that neighborhood and bring it out across the road. The pipe size, the big question at the time, if you remember correctly, during the whole debate about the bond was the pipe size big enough? Was our siphons big enough to handle this neighborhood coming across? We have looked into that. Yes, it is. So this is the first project in that neighborhood to go forward. Don can take it from here.
So phase one was going up Woodland, goes underneath Babusick Lake Road, and then out towards the Sauhegan River, and there's a treatment area that's out there. And yes, this is large enough to be able to take the entire Woodland area. So what we're planning on doing is to do 2 roads, 2 roads every 2 years. It's basically what we're planning to do. This area is very flat, so it's hard to get the drainage. There's also a number of underground utilities there, which makes it even more interesting. We've got sewer, water, gas, and it's very, very challenging to find the spots to be able to put the drainage. We had gone out, I've spent the last couple of years looking at these 2 roads, and then from there, we'll work on another couple of roads and be able to work through the entire subdivision. So tonight, we're here before you to ask for the withdrawal of $750,000 out of the capital reserve account to be able to do the construction. And we had been saving for this project $375 each year for the last 2 years.
Okay. Tom?
Are you gonna, this new work you're doing now is gonna hook into the work that went underneath, Babusick Lake Road, is that right?
Correct. There's a catch basin right here at the corner of Timber Lane and Woodland Drive. And we're going to tie right into that catch basin, which ties into the whole system.
Okay, and Woodland Drive comes down to Babusick Lake,
Yes.
and that's the work you did before?
Yes.
Okay,
That was done about 2010.
yeah, I remember that. Thanks. I just wanted to make sure, because this picture doesn't really say anything, and you didn't talk much about how it was gonna hook in, or just that it was
Right here.
going to.
So the way it was done, the drainage system came all the way up from Babusick Lake Road up to Woodland to a point somewhere in here. And it was intended to be able to expand the system from there. And that's what we're doing.
Okay. So is this gonna eventually pick up Joppa Road and stuff? I don't understand the difference
I
between green and
can't,
red
I've
lines.
gone
and-
as far as I can go.
Pardon?
So I've gone as far as I can go with the slope and the drainage. I can't get into Joppa.
Okay,
Otherwise, the pipes are coming out of the ground.
so that,
Because you don't have.
so this is,
I don't have, because the grounds are so flat, I have nothing to work with.
Right, no,
So even though these pipes are at 0.5%, which is very shallow, we've held the 0.5% all the way up and gone as far as we can go to be able to get that in. And in the future, we'll have to do something on job. I will extend everything as far as we can take it.
so in the neighborhood, the future portions of the neighborhood will go to the Joppa side, or?
Nope,
will
they're
it
coming
still be
down to
able connect
Woodland.
Into this?
They're all coming into Woodland.
Okay.
all right, so this is a 2-year plan, and then there'll be another 2-year plan to do some more somewhere when we dream
And
how to
that's
do that.
because the $3 million bond did not pass.
No, I
So the
understand.
only way we can get this done is to do it in little phases. And in fact, I'm contemplating putting in another subdivision that's very similar to this. It's across from, it's Clay Street, that area. That's also very flat. The pipes are beginning to collapse because they're metal. And it was a 60, 70 subdivision, and we need to be able to get in and start working that, and probably doing something very similar, because we're having issues. So that will be the next set of area that we're gonna have to look at. And that's the only way we can, we have to just spread it out and do the best we can to get these taken care of. I mean, they're old subdivisions, and drainage, either, this one didn't have drainage. Clay at least has some drainage, but it's getting old and it's failing.
All right. All right, very good. Andy?
Once, if we're gonna do 2 roads every couple years, is there also a plan for the paving, or are we gonna wait until all the drainage is done before we start
No,
paving?
we will reconstruct those roads completely and then repave them this year.
As we do the
As
drain?
we do
okay,
it, yes, I'm not gonna let that go, no.
Perfect, thank you. Thank you.
Very good.
Just me.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mark.
So, Paul, I'm sorry, what was the fund that you're using for the Sohegan project?
Road infrastructure.
Okay, and this one uses road infrastructure.
Yes, it does.
And you know what my next question
Yes,
is?
it is.
Okay.
There's over $1.4 million in that fund.
We're hitting that puppy.
Yes, we are. But we have enough money in that fund. We've been saving up for these projects over a number of years.
Very good. What's the pleasure?
I move to authorize a withdrawal and expenditure of $750,000 from the Road Infrastructure Capital Reserve Fund for the drainage installation and road construction project of Timber Lane and Fernwood Drive,
And I'll make a second. Oops.
and authorize the town manager to sign any documents necessary.
Motion by Tom Koenig, seconded by Mackenzie, was that it?
I think and Murphy got it first.
Oh, Nancy Murphy, very good. Any further discussion on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstained? 700. Thank you. Don't go away. Next, item number 5, under new business, the council to consider the request to withdraw and expend $250,000 from the road infrastructure capital reserve fund for the drainage reconstruction project on South Pebbles Lake Road. We
So,
spoke about this not long ago.
yeah, we didn't, we spoke about it not long ago. We came in, we thought we had a good amount. We went out to bid. We got the bids back. We found out that there was, an adding error on the calculation sheet when we came in front of the council before. So this is to correct that error. And it's the project that we talked about with the, over in South Wabuzik, replacing those culverts, bringing in, BB Lane. Is it BB? BB?
Near BB, yeah.
BB Lane, into the project. We got a bid and that's what it's gonna cost, basically $250,000 to do that project. And we have a contractor teed up, waiting to go.
All right, I understand. Any questions? What would you like to do? Besides turn up the thermostat a little bit, otherwise. Freezing.
I'm also freezing.
Paul turned it, he turned
you
it up,
really?
the air conditioner on an hour ago.
Somebody wants to make a motion.
Please do.
Let's try. We have priorities, right? We're gonna do. I wanted to move that we withdraw and expend a total of $250,000 from the Road Infrastructure Capital Reserve Fund for the drainage reconstruction project on South Babuzik Lake Road, and for the town manager to
Sign any and all this.
sign any and all necessary documents.
Was by Nancy Murphy, seconded by Barbara. Now, is it safe for me to assume that we didn't vote on a dollar amount the last meeting?
We did.
So do we have to negate that in some fashion, or
The project is $250,000. That's what we're
that's
spending
what
on
we're
the project.
voting on? Okay, all right. Any further comments, questions?
No.
Question, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstained? 700.
I'm sorry, who seconded that?
Barbara.
Barbara. Sorry, thank you. Mr.
Thank
Chair,
you.
if I,
make it official, I'm a little chilly as well. So you must be
Oh my, I am, it's so cold.
Mr. Chair,
All right.
if I can go back to my manager report now,
Oh, yes,
because Dawn's all done.
she is.
Dawn's all done.
Dawn's all
Captain
done.
Marquis is very excited about that.
Dawn,
We're out of money, so
Yeah.
you have to leave.
Captain Marquis doing the happy dance. He probably gets to come forward, but if I could, please. So construction is going to begin the first week of August in Fernwood in the timber drainage project. CSSI, the contractor, will be is the contractor for the project. Please expect road closures and one-way alternating traffic. Avoid the area if possible. There'll be a letter going out to all affected residents on those streets. Work is expected to take several months to be completed. Construction will also begin the first part of August for South Babuzik Lake Road. A Continental Construction Company will be replacing the 3 failing culverts, which will require the road to be closed for the part of the work. So South Babuzik Lake Road between Merrimack and Amherst will be closed once the project begins for a period of 3 weeks. We have to close the road because we have to get this road back open for school and the school buses. So that's the easiest way to do it and the quickest way to get, least inconvenience way for those people in that area to come. We have talked to our neighbors in Amherst and they will be placing notification on their website. We'll be placing notifications on our website. We'll be putting out message boards to allow alerting the traffic in that area to know that the road will be closing. There'll be daily detours and during the phase work. There's an additional couple of cross culverts up the road a little bit on South Babuzik that they'll be doing, that the road will not be closed, but they'll be alternating one-lane traffic during that period. And that's going to take effect. Both of them will start in August. We're hoping for the majority of work on the South Babuzik project to be done by the beginning of school.
All right.
So you're going to put a message board near the area?
Yes.
And is it your intention to put it on the message board? Sorry, is it your intention to put it on the message board for specific details? Please look at, you can do the website?
Yes.
Okay.
visit town. We usually say visit town website, and it'll be up on the town
Perfect,
website.
Perfect. Because you can only put so much, but at
16
least giving them
characters.
the information that be prepared.
Yeah.
And this is where you get for specifics.
Right.
Perfect.
And right after we finish all the drainage on South Babusick, we're going to be redoing that road. Just like we did Wire Road up at the north end.
We're gonna repave it.
Yeah, it's gonna be,
So we're gonna do the injection in that road and
yeah, fix
repave it. And
because
fix
there's
it.
a lot of traffic on that road.
But it will be all out there, and the details will be, out there on the website, as well as Nicholas to get our Facebook page up and running closer to when these projects will begin. We'll get
But
the
I
message out there.
Do not want to have culverts failing after.
No, I think,
We
you know,
do-
as long, there's no question of necessity. My concern is to be able to give people who travel those roads plenty enough notice
Yes.
and exactly what is involved so they can go check it out.
Yes, and I have to deal with the fire because it's going to basically block off BB Lane, so they're going to need to be able to address that. And we've
We're gonna
started our
get mutual
discussions.
aid to help us
Mutual
with BB Lane.
Yeah.
They're not gonna be without fire or ambulance
Right, right,
service.
of course.
We'll have mutual aid come in and help, but then we have to coordinate that with our fire department. Who could coordinate it with the Amherst Fire Department. So just don't want to think,
Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
God, they're
Yeah, well,
I have been talking to Amherst, so
Yep, good. All right.
I have been.
All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it, Leo. Thanks, Don.
you don't want to leave now, do you?
Leo said he wants to stay until about 12 o'clock tonight.
Yeah, there we go. All right. Item 6 under new business, council to consider the acceptance and expenditure of a grant from the New Hampshire Office of Highway Safety for driving under the influence patrols in the amount of $2,600 for the Merrimack Police Department pursuant to RSA 31:95B and Charter Article 8, Section 15.
So
Sorry.
Captain Marquis is here tonight to talk about these grants. We get these grants basically every year. There is one new grant this year that we'll be talking about later on, but he'll go through each grant and explain what they're doing. A lot of these grants are set by dates set by the state that we participate in. So take it away, Cap.
Okay. So yes, the first one is driving under the influence patrols. The grant is in the amount of $2,600 and would fund 8 4-hour patrols. The patrols would focus on DUI enforcement and would be held on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights, as well as during some special events and holidays between the hours of 9 p.m. and 3 a.m.
Okay. It's pretty self-explanatory.
Yep.
Somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve a grant from the New Hampshire Office of Highway Safety for driving under the influence patrols in the amount of $2,600.
Motion by Mackenzie. Seconded by Barbara. Any further discussion?
Yeah,
Oh.
just include.
And I also authorize the town manager to sign any and all documentation related to that.
Thank you, Mackenzie. All right, any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed or abstained? 700. All right, item 7 is the council to consider the acceptance and expenditure of a grant from the New Hampshire Office of Highway Safety for distracted driving patrols in the amount of $2,600 for the Merrimack Police Department pursuant to RSA 31:95B, Charter Article 8, Section 15.
Okay, the distracted driving patrols grant is in the amount of $2,600. It would fund 8 4-hour patrols during morning and evening rush hour traffic. The patrols would address distracted and negligent driving, including using handheld electronic devices, things such as failing to clear snow from a vehicle, and other distractions within the vehicle.
Anybody have any questions, Captain Markey? Oh, Nancy,
I'd like to make a motion.
please.
Move the acceptance and expenditure of a grant from the New Hampshire Office of Highway Safety for distracted driving patrols in the amount of $2,600 for the Merrimack Police Department pursuant to RSA 31:95-B and Charter Article 8-15, and for the town manager to sign any and all necessary documentation.
And I'll make a
A motion by Nancy Murphy, second by Barbara. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstain? 7-0-0. Next, we have the council's consider the acceptance and expenditure of a grant from the New Hampshire Office of Highway Safety for high visibility mobilization patrols in the amount of $3,400 for the Merrimack Police Department pursuant to RSA 31:95B and Charter Article 8, Section 15.
So the high visibility mobilization patrols grant is in the combined amount of $3,400, which would fund 11 for mobilization patrols, consisting of join the click, which is seatbelt enforcement, drive sober or get pulled over, which is DUI enforcement, and you drive, you text, you pay, which is hands-free electronic device enforcement. These high visibility mobilizations are statewide coordinated events that are conducted on specific dates and times to enforce specific issues.
None of these are roadblocks per se, are they?
No, no.
I just had to.
You're so predictable.
Tom, did you have anything? I didn't know if I.
It seemed like these two overlap, this one overlaps the first two almost completely.
Yeah, I think the difference is for the drive sober, get pulled over, you have a specific time frame to do those details, and everybody in the state that gets that money does those details in the same time frame. So it's kind of coordinated. Everybody's doing it at the same time. I think that's the only difference.
But this one says that as well, right? Or did I misunderstand? You were talking about this third one.
Which one now?
This third one says it's coordinated, didn't it? These events are conducted on specific dates and times?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you were talking about that one when you were saying that it's coordinated across the state? The other ones, the DUI and the distracted driving patrols, are not necessarily coordinated across the state?
Correct. No, we can do that within the entire time frame of the grant, which is a whole year.
Oh,
We have specific dates in this third one for, it's generally like a 2-week period to get that money, to get those mobilizations done, that specific event.
in a 2-week period for 11
Yeah.
patrols?
Yep, it's usually 4 details or so, so it's relatively easy to get done for the most part.
Are we staffed sufficiently for all these additional overtime works?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. I thought we were short of officers and people were having to do a lot of overtime work and stuff, and yet these grants are going to all be overtime work.
Yeah, the only ones that we have trouble filling sometimes are the DUI enforcement details sometimes. I think just because of the time frame of the details. They're Friday, Saturday nights. Some guys that work a lot of Friday, Saturday nights, every week, finally get a weekend off, and they'd rather not spend their time doing that. That's just the way it is. The other ones are done during the day. They're just easier to fill. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Good point, though. I mean, there's no such thing as forced overtime, is there?
Right.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it doesn't get done, it doesn't get done. I saw Litchfield in town today doing a detail.
Did you? I'm seeing Merrimack cars out on the Everett Turnpike, which kind of surprised me. Why any of our police cars are out there, which has absolutely nothing to do with this discussion. But
I was thinking that.
But one of the reasons why we're on there is because the state troopers are down almost 100 troopers. So they don't have enough people they're seriously short-staffed. So in order for them to get the details on the highway, especially, they're going to surrounding communities and asking them. And since the project basically is in Merrimack, Merrimack is picking up some of the slack and staying on the highway for the detail. Not for anything, but the highway details are a little less strenuous than being on a country road such as Babuzik Lake Road or DW, where the highway is more, you're there, but it's a little, I won't say easier, but it's less stressful than it, because you're not dealing with traffic, stopping traffic and moving traffic along.
they're just sitting there with the car lights flashing.
Yeah, and because it's the state DOT, they say they gotta have a detail to do the work.
And DOT is paying for that?
Yes, they are.
Thank you.
All right. Somebody like to make a motion on this high visibility mobilization patrols?
I'll make a motion to accept a grant from the New Hampshire Office of Highway Safety for high visibility mobilization patrols in the amount of $3,400 and authorize the town manager to sign any and all documentation related to that.
Motion by Mackenzie,
Second.
seconded by Nancy Murphy. No further discussion. I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstained? 700. And then we have the council to consider item number 9, the acceptance and expenditure of a grant from the New Hampshire Office of Highway Safety for safety enforcement patrols in the amount
Speed
of one.
enforcement.
I'm sorry.
Speed enforcement patrols. You said safety enforcement patrols.
Am I on the
Are
wrong
you
one?
reading? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm reading the title.
Oh, yeah, I'm just reading down in the text.
The title and the text are different.
So,
Probably speed.
we'll consider the acceptance and expenditure of a grant from the New Hampshire Office of Highway Safety for speed enforcement patrols in the amount of $1,600 for the Merrimack Police Department pursuant to RSA 31:95B and Charter Article 8, Section 15. Thank you, Tom.
Speed enforcement patrols grant is in the amount of $1,600, which would fund 5 4-hour patrols. The patrols would address problematic motor vehicle speed issues at various locations in town.
Anybody have any question? Motion by Barbara. Seconded by Nancy Harrington. Further discussion? Call the question. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained, 700. I get it.
I just want to be able to.
Yes.
I'd like to make a point regarding this. I had called Paul during the day and I said, I have a request, and I'm sure it can't be done. You can ask. If not, we can deal with it in the future. Asking for some statistics on speeding tickets. There's been a lot of talk lately about the speeding in various parts of town. And logistically, I understand that with the increasing population within the town, I would expect that there would be more speeding warnings, tickets, and all that. So I just wanted to be able to get a sense, was there any statistics available for tonight? And I'm not surprised. I did not expect it.
I'm surprised. Captain's got it.
You do? Wow.
Because that's the annual question that I haven't asked yet.
I was at it. But see, and I think, but your thing, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you're concerned that too many tickets are being given out.
Oh, no, I don't think that. I don't want there to be too many. I think as a
Okay.
community police department, we should encourage change habits. And if it doesn't happen, and if you're doing real crazy stuff, then of course.
And see, I get part of me would like us to be a little tougher than what you probably are saying. Because I'd like Merrimack to be known as a town. You don't want to fool around with Merrimack. You're going to get ticketed like crazy.
I was Chief Pelletier many years ago.
So, but that's my philosophy. Now, all you do is get one ticket, and I'd probably be one of them. And or the word would get out, and I would be one to say, okay, things are really getting tight. I'm going to be more careful. So that's the point. That's why I asked for this. And you have some?
I do, yeah. Yep.
Wow.
So for 2021, 2022, and 2023, I have those numbers. Speed warnings for 2021 were 3,281. Summonses was 204.
So about 6-8%.
In that
See, and
ballpark.
I think that's appropriate.
Yep.
2022
2022 was 3,632 with 116 summonses.
Yeah, go ahead.
And we have a partial for this year. It's 1,883 warnings and 209 summonses for the year.
Now, Mike, is there such a thing as a reasonable percentage? I mean, you're saying 6 to 8% is good. I don't know if it is or not. Is that a reasonable, normal standard?
I think it probably is. I think every town is different.
I understood.
Every department's different. I think it's certainly reasonable.
Okay.
Mhm.
Not too soft as me.
I think
See,
I-
he's thinking let's lower it. I'm
No,
increasing
no,
it.
I think, I'm not in your business. I don't stop cars. But I think a lot of people are on their way home, you know, they're focused on that, and they, you know, they're doing excessive the speed, they get stopped. Are they aggressive, or not with the officer, but I mean aggressively driving and doing crazy things, or are they just trying to get home and they
Listen,
just,
I think they are now.
well, some
I
may
think-
be, but
I think there's one, heard it more. I live near Continental, and to me, there's much more racing going on. And word of mouth from citizens, you're hearing that's happening in other streets as well. Now, is it just because I'm more aware? Is it because that there's more traffic, therefore the incidences are increased? Or even if that's true, then maybe we need to get a little stricter for a little while. That's
Well,
just my opinion.
To be fair, the numbers, I mean, from last year to this year, it's almost 4x. And, you know, as a
Right.
percentage
Interesting
of stops.
perspective, right?
Yeah, so
Proportionally, which is nice.
I think you're getting what you're looking for.
Which is
So-
nice.
But yeah, most of the time, it's bringing their attention to it is enough for most people.
Well, I will say that we do have streets that are pass-through streets. And I know I have doctor and physical therapy appointments over in Bedford. And I go up Wallace, I go up what turns into Wire into Wallace. And all the way up, I have someone behind me who's going to Bedford. All the way back, I have someone who is going to get on the highway. So we have a lot of those roads, but you know, even my street, Back River, is one of those. And when everybody who lives around that area knows, and you still have a standing invitation to sit in my driveway. So I think that there are some roads that desperately need more monitoring. Just because I was coming home Tuesday, and I had someone pass me over the double lines. Because at 40, I wasn't going fast enough for him. Fortunately, I was in Bedford, so it wasn't that bad yet. But we definitely need some monitoring and more tickets. One ticket and they'll be done.
there's two for you, Captain.
So I appreciate you having the statistics.
Yeah.
And you're right. This year it looks, when it's not where it's quoted, I don't want to get into the myth or, that, oh, wait, we have a quota. That's not what I'm talking about. I just want to know, I want it to be known that Merrimack, you're going to be a little bit more careful going through. Slow down a bit. And I know you don't.
And I think our police department takes everything into account. If you're somebody who hasn't got a ticket since they were 16 years old and you're 60 years old and you get pulled over, if you're not doing 70 in the school zone, I think they take that into account when they're talking to a person. If there's somebody who's a habitual speeder, they take that into account as well. If somebody calls and they witness this person driving erratic or passing on double yellow lines, they take that into account as well. So each case that they pull somebody over is a little different. And they are trying, I know we've had conversations about unmarked cars versus marked cars versus smoked cars in our police force. They are trying to do some of these patrols with some of those vehicles just for that purpose also, to know that we're out there, we're about, if we see you, we're going to pull you over and let you know that you were going 55 in the 30 or 60. Some guy passed me today doing 60 by Marquis. He was doing 60. Had to be. He passed me.
And why would
Like I was
someone
standing
think that's
still.
okay?
So, there's a lot of the, things that are out there, and honestly, not to speak for the police department, but people have forgotten how to drive since COVID.
They've lost their
They
patience.
lost their patience too, but a lot of them have forgotten how to drive in COVID and passing on double yellows and things of that sort. The police department does look at each individual stop
And they should.
as what it is, and tries to, the Merrimack way was to give that warning, to say, hey, you're going fast. This is your first time in 16 years you got pulled over. You're going fast. They get pulled over the next day. They might not be getting that
Right.
same warning saying, hey, you're going fast. It was like,
Right.
we pulled you over yesterday. You should have known better. Here's a ticket.
But legitimately, the population in Merrimack has grown significantly.
Yes, it has.
So it wouldn't surprise me that the total number would have increased. It just makes sense because it would be a proportional increase. And statistically, there's not that, well, at least for 21 and 22, it's pretty stable.
Right.
23, we're still, the jury's still out. Although the,
Mackenzie?
some of the.
Do all of the unmarked vehicles all have the all have like the police department license plate on them?
Yes. No, actually, they do have municipal plates, yes.
Most of them do. There's a couple that do not.
Yep.
And those are for
Different work.
Those are not for traffic.
They're
Those are
not-
not for traffic.
Like, we have,
monitoring.
like,
No.
some of our detectives' vehicles that are unmarked, just have civilian plates.
Yeah, but they're not used
They're not for
ticketing.
patrol.
They're not
They're not patrol. They're
They're
not
not
the
patrol.
patrol
Yep.
vehicles.
Yeah.
But to say that all our police vehicles have MV plates on is not accurate. We do have some that have regular license plates on them for
Because
different
you want
police
them
pur-
not to.
Yeah, different police purposes.
So can they still pull people over with those unmarked or without the
That's
license
a,
plate
that's a
if they're
policing
on?
function.
Yeah, you could, yes. There's lights on all the cars, so you could.
All right.
Thank you very much. I did not expect you to be able to do that,
Oh,
so
no problem.
I
I'm
appreciate
surprised you
it.
didn't think he would have it. I assumed he would.
Oh, well, it was this afternoon.
Yeah, no,
So
but
I didn't
it's
know.
because it's the perennial question. That's
Wow.
all.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, maybe they were prepared for you.
It might have been, I don't know. So we'll
maybe
move
they
on.
just have
So
the stats
Captain
available.
going home, item 10 under new business, the council to consider the acceptance and expenditure of a grant from New Hampshire Office of Highway Safety for speed enforcement equipment in the amount of $9,375 for the Merrimack Police Department pursuant to RSA 3195B and Charter Article 8, Section 15.
See, now they're gonna have good equipment to give those something.
The speed enforcement equipment grant is in the amount of $9,375, which will be used to purchase 5 Stalker dual SL radars. The radars will be installed on our cruisers and would replace aging equipment. It would be used for general speed enforcement as well as to complete our speed enforcement grant and other highway safety details.
This is different than the last one. Did we vote on the last one though? Yeah. I know we did a motion.
Yeah, I had
Yeah.
700 and then we went into the other discussion.
Tom made a face at me and I knew what he, right, so, yeah, so.
He does have good faces.
We're not-
Sometimes I can't read them though.
All right, what's the pleasure of the council on this? Nancy?
I'd like to make a motion.
Yep.
For the council will accept and expend a grant from the New Hampshire Office of Highway Safety for speed enforcement equipment in the amount of $9,375 for the Merrimack Police Department pursuant to RSA 31:95B and Charter Article 8-15, and for the town manager to sign any and all necessary documentation.
By Nancy Murphy, second by Andy. Any further discussion on the motion? Tom?
So this is replacing current equipment
Yes.
only?
Yep.
We have 5 cars, or do we have more cars than that?
Some of the radios are going to be for some of the cars that we've ordered, so the new cars coming in.
Uh-huh.
But they're generally to replace some of our older radars that have been around for a long time.
We have radars 10.
Yes.
And it's probably not germane to this, but a couple of years ago, you guys came in and had these "Your Speed Is" signs. A couple of years ago, thank you. You had you picked up some of these "Your Speed" signs, and they were posted on poles and things of that nature. Are we still using those? Or?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're still using those.
Because there's one that's been on that stretch between the triangle on Natticook and Thornton's Road, and where Natticook Road branches off, that's been posted by Dirt Road now for weeks without being lit up or anything. It's been there for probably months.
Okay,
And
I will
I
address that tomorrow.
Thanks.
I'm not sure why that's still there, but I can find out.
And it's not lit up, so it's just hanging there.
Okay, I will take care of that.
Sorry, I know that's off topic, but it had to do with speed enforcement.
Yep. All right. We all set?
I'm all set.
All right. No further discussion. I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 700. Thanks, Cap.
Great, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Sorry for
Thank
the
you,
late
Captain
hour.
Marquis.
Approval of-
You gave him a couple of laughs.
All right. Next on the agenda is approval of June 22nd, 2023 minutes. Never did look into that, did we, Paul? As far as how we should handle minutes, not that we have to change it for tonight.
We make a motion. You make the motion. And technically, it's just like, if the motion is to approve the minutes as written and somebody makes an amendment to it, Robert's rule says you're supposed to vote on the amendment, then you're supposed to vote on your motion like we do at deliberative session. We kind of shortcut the process and just vote on the amendment as the whole, going forward as accepting the whole minutes as written, besides the changes.
Okay, so, oh, go ahead, Nancy.
So what we could do is make any changes before a motion.
Well, and that's what it should be.
And then
because-
make a motion.
Yeah, are there any changes? Yes, what you could read is, are there any changes to the minutes of
Before a motion.
before a motion's made? And then you can say, okay, make the motion for,
It just is more comfortable. It's always been an awkward thought in my head.
but that would be the
makes
easiest
it
way to
clean.
do it.
Yeah, because I think it's an assumed motion according to Roberts.
Yeah, right.
So anyhow, Mackenzie.
On the last meeting's minutes, there are places where it just says our last name, but it doesn't say N Murphy versus M Murphy. So that will need to be clarified. It's under the new business. And that's under the motions made. There's a few places it just says counselor. The June 22nd meeting. Page 7 out of 10.
One on page 6.
Actually, on page 6, line 38,
Oh,
Yes.
we have an unidentified Murphy. I think it's Nancy.
It was,
yes, that's N Murphy.
Okay,
And
so
then-
let's- Okay, so first is what? McKinsey?
Page
first is
6 out
page-
of 10. Line 38 should say N Murphy.
What about line 30 on page 7?
Line
Actually, it's 34.
31st.
30 also.
30 also?
30 and 34.
And then
They're probably
34.
McKenzie.
I don't see that.
I think both of those are Mackenzie Murphy.
Yeah, I think those were both me.
Yes, that's why I figured.
That's why when I
Yep.
say who made motions, I have to use yours
Yep.
and Nancy name, and it's always,
Red
I have to
Then
really think now all of a sudden.
Page 8, line 5. I abstained, not opposed.
Page
8, line 5.
You oppose.
You abstain.
So it's
I
it's
abs-
1-0.
Yeah, actually, it's the,
No, she did abstain. She didn't
Okay.
oppose.
but
So
it
should
says
be
in
abstention.
opposition.
Yeah.
Right.
It should say abstained. And then page 10. Line 11. It should be N.
Oh, yeah.
Murphy.
Right.
All right,
And the only thing I had. These momentous. Page 5. Under legislative updates, should we add legislative update via email? Because Wendy
probably because it was
sent
read
an
into the
email
record.
from
Yeah,
you.
down the street.
It was also read out.
Oh, yeah?
It was also read out loud at the meeting though, so should that be noted in the minutes or no?
Back to the
Because you read it out loud, Finley, so I don't know if
I
that.
did, I did. I
Better.
read it,
Via email. But it's
The email is presented at the meeting. I think.
Read from an email?
Yeah.
Read from an email. Legislative update from Representative Thompson, read from email.
No, it's not. Are you okay?
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Does that work for everybody?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, now we can have a motion.
Nope, nope.
no, Nancy,
Another correction, sorry.
Yeah, so, is it me, Nancy, me?
yes,
Okay. On page 6, on line 38, it's Counselor Murphy shared the Criminal Justice and Public Safety Committee's 2-year term is ending. I'm not quite sure what I said, but it's the first year of the biennium is ending. We're only halfway through. So it's probably, it's just, I don't know what I said exactly, but first year of the biennium instead of 2-year term. And then
So how do you want it written?
first year of the biennium, I would just say.
He's got it? I just want to make sure he understood.
I understand.
Okay.
I don't know if Becky's.
It was pretty fast, but
Yeah. And then on line 42, same page, 6 of 10, it says, I shared the DES led a presentation for an operating permit, which they both opposed. I don't, it doesn't refer to the they, so I don't know if, I said Representative Rung and I attended the meeting because there was also a Hillsborough County meeting that night. And so other people, we were supposed to be at the Hillsborough County meeting. So I don't, maybe that was the reference, but it says they, so I'm not a they, I'm a
she.
just a shit, yeah. But I opposed that, as well as Representative Rung at that meeting.
Representative Murphy and.
Yep. Yep, due to increased sales, funds, 42. That was it, I think, I found, yeah. Oh, and then, did we get on page 10? You, line 11, okay.
All right. So now we take a motion on the corrected minutes. Who would like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of Thursday, June 22nd, as revised, or as
Amended.
That's
As
corrected.
amended.
Amended.
And I'll make,
So it was by Nancy, and who seconded?
Barbara?
Barbara did.
You can't see Bob.
I know it. So all those in favor of the corrected minutes of June 22nd, 2023,
The shortest one of the entire.
signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstain? 700. Okay. And now we're going to take up the June 29th, 2023 minutes. You're all good?
So we need a motion to approve, right?
I'll make a motion to approve the June 29th, 2023 minutes
That's presented.
as presented.
Motion by Mackenzie, seconded by Barbara. All those in favor of the June 29th minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstain?
Abstain.
601 with Nancy Harrington abstaining. Comments from the press? Seeing none. Comments from the public?
Come on down.
If-
They seem to be.
That one might not be working properly.
Just make sure that.
Okay. Good evening.
Thank you for
council
hanging around.
folks. To echo what Kat,
We name your name.
my name is Eric Otta, 37 Turkey Hill Road. This is to kind of echo what Officer or Captain Eric said. It's been an awesome living in Merrimack, but recently, to address what Nancy Harrington said about speeding tickets, I think we need to up the ante and have a shock and awe, mentality. I'm serious.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Sunday night at
Yep.
10:10, I had a car going 62 miles an hour on Turkey Hill Road, flew right through my front yard. Thanksgiving, I'm in Lake Placid, and a distracted driver, 16-year-old driver, was on her phone, and she flew through my front yard. And the person on Sunday was high as a kite. We're not doing enough. We need to push for the changes in the automated speed enforcement, because right now we can't have cameras to supplement officers, because if they're taking the positions for state troopers and they're not in town, how are we able to do that? And right now it's illegal to record someone and then submit it to the police officers. So we need to change that law and have it be enforced by Governor Sununu. And in the past year, we've had the states of Connecticut, Florida, Colorado, Arkansas, Washington, and Indiana. In Florida, just changed their rates from first offenders from $100 to $250. And I spoke with a representative from a company called Traffic Logistics, and they make a product, just to give you a grand scheme of funding, because Barbara's about funding. I learned that really on. These cameras are $16,000. And in the scope of what she told me when they implemented this, because they're a Canadian-based company, when they implemented this in Toronto, within the first week, they had 1,000 offenders, and out of that, 40% of them paid their or their speeding tickets. So not only did they address the speeding, but they're addressing the exhausted police officers, and then they're supplementing for funding that we're all hurting for here. So I think we really need to seriously consider going to the governor and saying, you really need to change these laws, because we don't have enough public safety officers, and B, I had to help out 2 kids out of a vehicle, one with a battered head, one with a broken arm, out of a car that rolled on Sunday in my socks. This is a serious issue. And on Facebook, I said, please be safe, driving on Turkey Hill Road. And everybody's saying, oh, it just raise awareness. I said, I would partner with the police and collect cans to raise money to do it, because I want help. But, the reaction that I got out of a firefighter, I said, how do we address this issue? And he says, I don't give an F right now. Probably wasn't the forum to do it, but I don't really expect that reaction of a public safety officer. They're exhausted. They're tired. We need to make a change. And quite frankly, if something doesn't happen, I have to ensure the safety for my children, my neighbors, and my community. And I've been talking with Paul, because I mentioned this to him. I brought it up to him, and he doesn't have the capacity. His hands are tied. He's got so much funding. He's got so many things. He does a great job, like all of you. And we really need to push the governor to change this stuff, because it'll equal out the playing field for public service officers, but B, it'll also increase your funding. And the joke about the status quo meeting the quota or whatever it was, I didn't really find that funny, but I found that, we really need to, have shock and awe. If you want to come into Merrimack is the number 1 town that people want to move to. My wife's a realtor, and that's what it says. People want to come to, we've had probably a 25% shift in population where people come from New York, Massachusetts, and they moved up to here. And how do we teach them that, you don't come in and mess with our community? You install, strict measures. And I just don't want something to happen, someone to get killed, because I was young once. I've had some of my friends die because of speeding, and it's an image you can't get out of your head.
Sure.
You can't. And it just, I don't want it to happen again. And I can't say it in any other way. And I appreciate Paul for recognizing the issue, in those speed metric tools. I don't know how many we have, but I know they run around $2,800. So if there's restricted funds, or if you guys need help raising funds, I'll help do that. I mean, I even said on Facebook, I'll help spearhead it. I want to help out my community. It's just, how do we make people more aware? First offense warning? You give them a ticket. No, we need to increase it from whatever it is by a few $100s to make a point. I don't know how else to say it. So I try to, I hope the kids, I was in communications with the cops. They said they're okay, but something needs to change. I can't have a third car come through my front yard in the span of another 6 months. It's just the graphic stuff I can't get out of my head.
No, I can imagine. Well, I appreciate you hanging around. That
I
was
appreciate
a long
it.
night for you.
No, it's all right. So
But,
I appreciate you hearing me out. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you folks, and I hope there's a common conversation where we can communicate with the reps and maybe Chris Pappas to say, hey, this is a real issue, and help raise it, because people on Meeting House Road, I've gone down there and they do freaking donuts, and I sit there and I'm like, really?
Yep.
I'm not going to carry my go packing everywhere. It doesn't resolve anything.
Yep.
It doesn't do anything. You just call the cops, say, hey, they're doing this, and by the time they come down, they're gone.
Well, if you get numbers, the police department generally follows up with those individuals. If you saw something crazy going on.
Yeah, but it's still he said, she
Yeah,
said.
but no,
unless you-
if somebody
unless-
takes the time to do that, they normally get in touch with that driver, and that driver now knows that they're on the radar, if you will, so to speak.
Okay.
So, feel free to do that. And, with the different enforcement opportunities they brought up tonight that we dealt with, it's all about getting habits to change and so on.
Yeah, I mean, and I also said it's just looking at different technologies because everybody's exhausted. Everybody's trying to get through their day to spend time with their family, but how do you supplement it? You either ask the public to raise awareness through fundraising, where you can take it to your send, hey, I had a public citizen, you can name my name. I don't really care because I really love this town. I really want to help make a difference. And if there's something that I can help out with, just knock on my door and I'll say, hey, come on in for coffee. I don't care.
Well, I appreciate that, Eric.
All right. I appreciate your
Have a
time and
wonderful evening.
consideration.
Thanks for
Yeah, you
stopping by.
too. Thank you.
Comments from the council? See no more public? Well, real quick, have to thank my dear wife for the past 38 years. It's my anniversary. I'm spending it with you guys tonight.
Yeah.
And so,
She gets the Purple Hat, right?
so she texted me. I said, I'm almost done. So here we go. So if anybody would like to move to adjourn unless there's further comment. Motion by Tom, seconded by Barbara. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed or abstained? 700. Thank you, everybody.
See you in,
Thank you, Tom.
see you in.